Buff Nation, what's going on? BWBs, all of my BWBs, what's up? What's going on? Hope all is well. Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to TLP Sports Club. You are now watching TLP Live Monday Night Football. I am your host, Harry Billion. Welcome to the show. A lot has been going on since Saturday. Well, we stream on Friday. So Saturday to Monday, which is tonight, a lot has been going on. A lot has taken place. We got Cormani news. Paul Finebaum is dropping another F-bomb. And we're going to talk about it all, guys, on this here Monday Night Football. There's a lot going on. Colorado is the number one hated sports team, college football team in all of college football and sports. I don't understand why so much visceral hate and disdain. I mean, whatever God has for you is for you. And if it ain't for you, it ain't for you. You ain't gotta be like that. Man, there's so much going on, and I mean, just nastiness going on. But I wanted to talk about it more. I was actually going to go live and do like a little pop-up way earlier, but I was like, nah, why not just wait until the show tonight and then just drop the whole bomb on everybody, all right? So YouTube, don't get afraid. It's just, we're talking just regular stuff. But, yeah, man, so we got a pretty good show. We, for the subsequent or the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about Colorado's road to the actual Big 12 championship. We've been previewing the different teams that are going to be in the that have the possibility of meeting us in that championship. Apparently, some people don't think that Colorado has the slightest of a chance to get to that championship. We're going to take a little bit of a break tonight from previewing or looking into taking a deeper dive into those schools tonight, and we're going to have a conversation about what's been said about Colorado's recruiting, and then we're going to talk about different topics tonight. And hopefully we get to Cormani. Well, we will get to Cormani McClain because he did make the thumbnail. So you can't make the thumbnail and we don't get to you or we don't talk about you. All right, but we have to talk about this whole situation that Paul Finebaum talked about, because I feel like, people need to be more responsible with their platforms. And it's interesting how, you're given this platform and you are a media personality. You are somebody who is supposed to be, you're mostly an opinion guy because you know the sport. But for some odd reason, there is some really deep sentiment and deep hate for Prime. I don't know if y'all met in a hotel room somewhere in Fresno or somewhere in Timbuktu, Africa. I don't know where y'all met, and maybe he said something to you, maybe he didn't say anything to you, but I don't know where the hate is coming from when it comes to Paul Finebaum, because I'm going to try to, hopefully YouTube will allow me to play some of the audio. I can't play the video because obviously it's ESPN, and I'll try to play the audio. Hopefully, ESPN will allow me to do that. But guys, welcome to Monday Night Football. All right, let's talk about this stuff that's going on. All right, we'll try to fill in the blank with everything else, but let's get to work. Join TLPlive@gmail.com right here. This email right there on your screen. Hopefully you're watching on YouTube. Well, that's if you're watching on YouTube. Right there on your screen, top left on your screen. Join TLPlive@gmail.com. It's the email that you email me. I send you a link. You come onto the show and we talk about the different scenarios or the different topics that we are talking about. Write down that email, guys, because I'm going to have to take that email off the screen later on during the show so that I don't cover either my face or somebody else's face. It is a screen overlay. But all my BWBs, make sure you cop your BWB gear on this here channel. If you're watching on, if you're on this here channel, I used to stream on Twitter, but now Twitter just changed their requirements. You can't stream on Twitter no more. You got to pay for that. So now you got to pay for the blue check, and now you got to pay to live stream on X, all right, is becoming a freedom of speech platform. All right, so thank God that YouTube is still free for us to be able to have a conversation. I'm grateful for that. But yeah, cop your BWB gear on YouTube because you just don't care what anybody else thinks. You don't care that somebody thinks a certain way about you being a new Colorado fan. So welcome to all my BWBs. If you are new to Colorado, this here is the channel to learn everything you need to learn about the team, about the new conference that we're going to, about the players. This is the right channel for that. All right, let's get to work. The first thing I want to talk about tonight is going to be the comments that were made by Mr. Paul Finebaum. And if you are not familiar with Mr. Paul Finebaum is an SEC analyst. He is a media analyst, and he's been in the media for a very long time. He's been doing this for a very long time. And, you know, he's one of those guys that he always has some fiery brand. He always has something fiery to say. So, you know, he says what he has to say. But this one is kind of interesting because I feel like, you know, I've covered Paul Finebaum. I've covered his comments before. But I keep wondering, like, when it comes to Coach Prime and when they ask him about Deion Sanders questions, I mean, at this point, if I was Paul Finebaum, I'd just be like, yo, pass. If you just don't feel like Coach Prime in Colorado is anything, if you just feel so bad about Colorado being a part of college football, just say pass. But at this point, the way that you're dealing with this is starting to really feel and look bad for you, not necessarily for Coach Prime, because I don't think Coach Prime rubs two sentences, let alone what Coach Prime doesn't rub two words together about Paul Finebaum. I don't know. I mean, I have never heard anything. If y'all know anything out there, these are all media personalities, just like Coach Prime, right? You know, but you know, maybe they met, you know, backstage or something like that, and I'm not aware of it. But I don't know that there's any beef. I don't know that there's anything that has occurred that has this guy talking the way he's talking, and I don't understand it. So, you know, I'm like, okay, man, whatever. Let's cover it. Let's talk about it. Again, the email, guys, is right there on your screen. Join tlplive@gmail.com. I'm telling you, I really don't understand it, but hey, the more they talk, the more I'm going to talk. And I told y'all that no hate is going to go uncovered. Okay, so it seems like they have taken it down. Oh, man. It seems like somebody has reported the situation. Let me see if I can. All right, I'm going to play the audio for y'all. Hopefully they didn't take it down. All right, so let's go ahead and play the audio because it's still on my phone, and I'm able to play it. So hopefully I'll play it, and then we'll discuss it. Before I do that, let me make sure that nobody's trying to come on the show, so I'm not I'm just not here, just, you know, ignoring my guest. All right. All right, guys, so here it goes right here. Let's go ahead and play this. And if you are, you know, if you're in the chat and you're able to tell me whether you can hear it or not, I will appreciate that. Let's go ahead and play this. ESPN, this is a coverage. I'm just giving you a disclaimer. I don't own this footage. I don't own the sound. I'm just playing it so that I can react to it. This is a reaction video, all right?
Anyone asking whether Deion Sanders and Colorado are close to the playoffs simply doesn't understand the reality of the road. They're not going to the playoffs this year, and I'm not sure Deion Sanders is ever going to get them to the playoffs because I don't think he has the patience to stay at Colorado long enough. There's so many misconceptions out there. Deion Sanders is the best salesman I've ever seen. I personally love the guy and for what he stands for, but the program looking out has a ridiculously inflated view of itself. I heard.
So the first thing I want to let's take this in little bits and pieces. The first thing is Deion Sanders is the best salesman he's ever seen. That's a compliment, but it's also a shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can give a compliment and a shot at the same time. Deion Sanders is a former NFL player. He's a former NFL player, and he's a businessman, but he's a coach currently. Deion Sanders is currently a coach at Colorado at a Division I Power 4 school. We're going to start by putting some respect on that, because Mr. Paul Finebaum, all right, I know what you're doing, and I'm just going to let you know that we're going to start with the respect. All right, let's start with that. If we start with the respect, then I'm with you. Because when you said Deion Sanders is the best salesman I've ever seen, you know, I say, okay, fine, I get that. But when you want to go the extra mile, you want to take it a little further, I have an issue with that. That's the first thing. All right, so let's start there.
Say last week, we are everyone's Super Bowl. Shador, you are not. You stands for. But the program looking out has a ridiculously inflated view of itself. I heard Shador Sanders, who's a fabulous quarterback, say last week, we are everyone's Super Bowl. Shador, you are not. You are an easy win nowadays. You got off to a phenomenal start last year, beating a couple of mediocre teams that had big names. And quite frankly, you haven't done anything since other than crash and burn. So
let's take that. Okay, so let's like I said, let's take it in bits and pieces. So the second thing is that when Shador says we're everybody's Super Bowl, Shador is not talking about the fact that they're one of the best teams in college football, and they're saying that, you know, every team is going to come and try to play them. Shador is actually referring to the fact that there is this visceral hate for Colorado. Everybody loves to hate Colorado. So he's talking about the fact that everybody wants to beat Colorado to get at his dad, to say that we beat Deion Sanders, those media darlings. This is what he's saying. So for you to say, it just feels like you have a personal vendetta. You have a personal grind, a personal thing to grind, and it's starting to feel personal for you, for Paul Finebaum. It's starting to feel a little personal for you. It's starting to look bad for you. You can say pass. All right? In the media, we understand, like, when you say next question, please. You don't want to deal with it. You don't want to talk about it. But when you do talk about it, you're starting to smell like you hate. You're starting to smell like you don't, like somebody really got to you personally. All right? Like, you're not even answering the questions anymore. Like, you're literally now going out of your way to make sure that you put the extra stink on it. All right? Because everybody knows when he said what he says, why he's saying that. But obviously, you're taking it personal. Shador, you're not. You're easily beatable. Like, okay, so listen, that was last year, 2023. You're not even talking about 2024, the 2024 team, because on one hand, you're going to say, well, you got 42 new players, but then you're going to say that you're easily beatable. How do you know that they're easily beatable? The team that you're referring to is the last year's team that was easily beatable because they got sacked 52 times. So, and then you saying, what have you done lately? Like, you've been beat lately. Like, come on, bro. It was 1 year, first year. That team is no longer. For the majority of those teams are no longer. So, Paul Finebaum is getting real personal for you, bro. All right? DC, not DC, but Phil So Real. What's up with you, brother? Thank you for calling, and I appreciate you.
What's going on, man? Happy Monday to you. Hope all is well.
All is well, and and it could be better. and
I
we don't have
know.
to be discussing Paul Finebaum here. You
Sound
feel
like
me?
you in your feelings a little bit. You know, you might want to throw hands with Paul tonight. What's going on, man?
I feel like Paul is in his feelings, and I'm just one of those pundits. You know, I'm one of those guys that have to come on here and I have to talk like Prime. You know, Prime would talk if he was on these streets. You feel me? Like
I
somebody
feel
has to
you.
say something.
I feel you, and I say this. Dion played for the Braves back in the '90s, and when they won, I don't know if it was the game to go. I think it was the game to go to the World Series. He dumped the ice water on one of the reporters that were in the locker room. So he'll definitely stand up for himself if he feels like he's been wrong. I can tell you that much.
That's right. So if he wasn't having to be professional and as a head coach and make sure that he's saying the right thing, doing the right things, Coach Prime will come in. You know, he'll give you what you need. He'll give you what because this is strike number 2. If we're talking baseball now, right? This is strike number 2, and Coach ain't said nothing yet to you. This is number 2, Mr. Paul Finebaum. And here you go again, and this one is getting a little more personal each time it happens. The first time that it happened, let's remind the people. The
I was about
first
to say
time,
I disagree. I disagree because I think the first one was a lot more personal than this statement was.
well, I'm,
Me
I'm telling you,
personally.
but we're gonna play the whole statement, and I will break it down. But I'm telling you, it's getting the first time it was like, okay, he was saying that Coach Prime was not he was a celebrity.
Hmm.
He was not a celebrity as a coach, and I understand the argument. Now I also understand the argument with saying Colorado's not going to the playoff. I get it because I've also said that Colorado's not making the playoff this year too. So that's not my issue. If you keep it with football, I'm all good with it. But it seems like it's getting a little more. There's a little bit more juice in how far he's going with it. It just seems as if it's really personal for him. You know what I'm
I,
saying? Like it seems a
I, I,
little personal for him.
I think honestly, I think it's the word choices that he's using, um,
But what
and
else
the
would
way
it
he's
be?
delivering it. But well, because I mean, you're saying he's making it personal, but he kept it about football. He didn't throw any jabs at Dion. He didn't throw any jabs at Shador, talking about him as a man or as a player. He was talking about the team as a whole.
Well, no, I'm
Um,
saying, but when you're talking about the team and the way that you're trying to describe what you're saying, I mean, it's personal it's not personal on this in the sense that he's going after them personally, but he's
okay,
going after the team personally.
okay,
You see what I'm saying?
based off of that definition of personal, yeah, I can. We're on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah, he's. I mean, it just feels weird. Like you hear
Can I?
commentary all the time. Go ahead,
I,
Phil.
I know this is not going to put you at ease, but I will tell you this. Um, Paul, what Paul Finebaum said today, and the way that he said it, and the way he worded it, and he does things. This is nothing new. He went after Lincoln Riley today as well. He's been known to go after Jim Harbaugh, Lane Kiffin, Ryan Day. He goes after coaches. So
What did he
um,
say? What did he say about the other guy today?
I think he said something to the effect that Lincoln Riley has been a dumpster fire at USC.
Okay, so Lincoln Riley has been a dumpster fire, and did he expound on it? Did he say anything?
I didn't see the entire clip, no, because I
Okay.
was worried about trying to find this one.
Okay. So, all right. That's the thing. I would love to see if I can have both clips and compare them to see how much he's really like. He's taking. But let's play a little bit more. Let's
Go
go a
ahead, go
little bit
for it,
more.
go for it, go
All
for it.
right.
I know that the media loves football. Shador, you are not.
You
You
can
are
you can hear this, right?
in nowadays.
Yeah, I
You
can
got
hear it.
off to a
It's coming through on
phenomenal
my end.
start last year, beating a couple of mediocre teams that had big names. And quite frankly, you haven't done anything since other than crash and burn. So I know that the media loves this story. We fall all over ourselves. But Colorado isn't important in college football. Deion Sanders is. He's a standalone person.
Colorado isn't important in college football, my dude.
Let him finish that whole thought. Let him finish that whole thought
I
because I think
mean,
he's
but how
about to
can I
touch on
let
what
him
he's trying to
when
say.
it just okay? All right.
He's one of the most charismatic people we've ever seen. But Colorado is nothing. They don't matter. They're irrelevant in the big picture of college football.
In the big picture. So how he defines that, he said since they're a team that can't win, and at the end of the season, we're not going to be talking about Colorado. There's no need in talking about them now. That's his stance. I don't.
So Colorado is not important in college football. Let me break that down a little bit and tell you why Colorado is important in college football. When you go on YouTube every single day, all right, when we're talking about college football content, Colorado is the number one cover team in college football. Colorado they went 4-8, and they have one of their players on the cover. All right, on the cover of EA Sports College Football 25. Colorado is the most talked about college football team. All right, Colorado is the most talked about team in college football. All right, and then the head of Nike, the CEO of Nike, told Deion Sanders in 2023, all right, at the Oregon game, that Deion Sanders is saving the sport.
When they
So
stole the playbook.
what's that?
When they
That
stole the playbook.
exactly when they stole that playbook. Okay, allegedly. Okay, we got to say allegedly. Stop playing
I'm
with me.
sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I love the inside joke, man. That tickles me every time I think
when,
about the Oregon game. I'm
when
sorry.
they allegedly stole the playbook and they beat us like stepchildren. Okay. All
For
right.
real.
So I'm just giving you some ideas on why I feel like this goes outside the rims of, if you just listen to what he's saying, Colorado's not important to college football. In the bigger picture of things, Colorado's not important. In the bigger picture, in the bigger scheme of things, right? College football is not just about winning. All right. College football has a lot more to do with just winning on the field too. So if the head of Nike, which I can never remember his name every time I'm ready to talk about him, right?
You didn't talk about Phil Knight, are you?
Phil Knight. Okay, when Phil Knight says, "Hey man, you're saving the sport," and then Phil Knight is, Nike covers, I would say a serious percentage of college sports, right, or sports all around the world, right? So if you get all of that in the bigger scheme of things, and then all of the networks are clamoring to try to carry their game, even though they're insignificant, then in the bigger scheme of things, Paul Finebaum is full of shit, and I'm sorry to say that, but he's full of crap. You see what I'm saying? If you look at that, right? If you were to just unpeel, if you would just take the veil off and you just take everything in perspective, then you can only come to that conclusion that Colorado does not matter in the bigger scheme of college football. Colorado does not matter. Well, if we're talking about bigger scheme, we're talking about finances. Colorado matters in the finances of the Big 12 because Colorado was the number one covered in college football, and when it comes to the finances, the networks want Colorado football to be on their network.
If I can chime in, so here's one of the situations where um I don't really have a dog in the fight. Like I don't agree with what Paul is saying, but I understand his argument. Um, I agree with some of the points that you're making, and I understand your argument. I think the way Paul is trying to define relevancy or mattering in college football, I think his point is more so on the field, whereas with a lot of CU fans and teammates, supporters, all that kind of stuff, because they haven't had the success on the field yet, because he's only been there for 1 year and he's trying to turn around a program that was 1-11.
Right.
They don't have you don't have a lot of on the field success to brag about. So
But you only
being
got 1 year, so the 1 year
and I'm giving you that. I'm
he's
giving you that.
but how far he's going with just 1 year data is unnecessary. You can't go that, oh, you've been beat and you've been the way that he's talking, it seems like if we've been here for a long time and we got nothing else to show for it but
we're not disagreeing,
losses.
Harry. We're not disagreeing. I'm just trying to at least give some type of explanation to his point, because
What
you
up,
call me
Tim?
legacy. What's good, Tim? You call me legacy all the time, so I guess from one legacy person to another, I can understand where he's coming from. Again, I don't necessarily agree with what he's saying, because I think Colorado is relevant. I think they do matter on the grand scheme of things when it comes to college football, because what they're doing is so new, what they're doing is so different, especially with Bucky and everything he's doing with the videos, the way they're trying to beef up the players' NIL or their own brand by having the Twitter handles on the jersey. So there are a lot of things that Colorado is doing
Has
that
been
they're the
trailblazing on.
yeah,
So
they're at the forefront of a lot of things in college football. Now, to be fair, there are things that they do that they show that other schools have been doing for years that they just don't show.
yeah,
So it
but
looks like
we're
Colorado's
like
doing it
Will
first, but
Smith
that's
in
fine.
Men in Black, right? We make this look good. All right,
And that's fine. But
we
guess
have
what?
made it
Everybody doesn't
popular.
value that.
The
Everybody
little
doesn't
guy has
value
been
that.
screaming, in his little corner for a minute, right? He's been screaming, "Oh, look at me, look at!" And then all of a sudden, we take everything that they've been doing, and we say, "Bada boom, bada bang, look at us, boom!" And then it goes viral. Everything we do goes viral. So we take credit for it because we made it go viral. All right.
I
Remember. What's the phrase? Remember the phrase with the women. The whole phrase that started the whole new women's movement. That phrase have been what was the thing called?
Me too.
Me too. Sorry,
Yeah.
the whole Me Too movement. There was a lady that has been using Me Too for a minute, right? And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, somebody else used it, right? And then because that person that used it was more prominent, they made it go viral, and then it became a movement. So you give the credit to the person that originated it, but you also have to give credit to the person that blew it up.
We ain't we're not disagreeing.
All right, let's bring DC on because DC wants to. He wants some of this smoke.
Boo,
I know, right?
boo,
Boo,
tomato,
DC.
tomato, tomato.
What up? What up? What up?
What
I'm
up,
take it. I'm
DC?
gonna make spaghetti with it.
Don't
Hey,
start no
ain't nothing
mess
wrong with
tonight,
that.
man. Don't.
Ain't
I don't
nothing
want
wrong
no
with
mess
that.
tonight, DC. Don't play with me tonight. All right. Hey, yo.
Oh no, I'm going full turn. I'm going. Harry, did you ever see Predator, the original one,
Yeah, I saw Predator. I
where
actually worked.
Arnold just
I
had all
actually
them
did a documentary.
grenades?
The Predator. I actually did a documentary with Bill Dukes, the Dog Girls documentary. He was a director on that. He
Yeah,
was a co-director on that documentary, and I worked with him. I was one of his cameramen.
all-time favorite movie of mine. Obvious reasons. When you have to basically let somebody have it, and you don't know what you deal with. You just like Bill Dukes, where he basically took that thing and just lit the whole freaking canopy of the jungle up, trying to
Uh
get the predator. That's what I'm finna do. Let's go.
huh. Okay. Well, so anyway, I've already worked with Bill Duke, so I'm ready for your nonsense. If you want any smoke, I'm ready for you. So listen, the conversation right now, we're just dealing with the little portion where he says that Colorado is nothing in the bigger scheme of things, and then we got the whole idea of, well, Colorado is not everybody's Super Bowl, and the way that when he says it, he's like, Shador, you're not. Everybody beats you, and it's like, bruh, it's 1 year of data that you're speaking on, and it seems like you're so venomous the way you're approaching this. Shador's not coming out and saying we're the best team in the country. He's just saying like everybody is after us. So why is it that he's answering? I'm not even asking you why. Let me hear your thoughts on that.
Do I agree with what Paul Finebaum said that Colorado is nothing? No, I don't agree with that. I believe Colorado, if you take Colorado and everybody knows should know what a pie chart is, and if you pie out college football, that Colorado has a good piece of the pie. Very new, very energetic program. Has brought in a lot of new. It's brought in a lot of new eyeballs, as well as it gets other eyeballs where people have picked up a second or third team, which is common in college football. So I think they're phenomenal in that aspect. But I also understand is that I think Colorado fans have to understand. And again, this is not thus saith DC. This is just me explaining to you is that you got to get out of the CU bubble and think that college football will exist around your existence the day that Prime stepped in Boulder. People ain't seeing Colorado are going to see it the way that we may see it. They may see it as this is way too much, is over the top. And guess what? They get to do that because they're part of college football too. I don't agree with some of the things being said, But I also have to understand they get to do that because they have a piece in college football too.
So okay, so my rebuttal on what you're saying is you when you say it, don't be afraid, don't be surprised when people like myself, the pundits, the creators that are Colorado fans and Coach Prime fans, y'all college football legacy people, don't be afraid or don't look at us crazy when we address it, because we're going to address it. I told y'all that this year, no hate, nothing goes uncovered and untouched. I'm touching everything. Pause. Everything. All right. I'm dealing with it, and because somebody has to, we're all gonna deal with it, and that's just what it's gonna be. Because I'm tired of it. It's just crazy how I'm always having to come on here, and I have to talk about the tone of it. I'm cool if you're just talking football, and I'm telling you, if it's football, I'm dealing with it. But if it's not, if the tone seems a little vindictive, then I'm gonna deal with it in that aspect.
But
So let me ask you a question.
you're aware that it's just based off of your perspective, though, right? Like that doesn't mean that just because they didn't say it the right way or in the way that you agree with it, that doesn't mean that they weren't still trying to be genuine with their feedback and try to give data or stats or whatever else you may need to prove their point.
You know what TLP means?
Yes, I'm aware of what it means.
The Liberian perspective. That's what TLP means. In case somebody out there did not know that TLP means,
No,
my
I
perspective is the Liberian perspective. But the idea, let me
I'll just say
address
this
what you
real
just
quick.
said.
I think you're gonna be putting out a lot of fires if you feel like you
Yeah,
have to
you're gonna be
address
putting out a
somebody
lot
when
of
it's gonna
fire.
be when it's gonna be. I think that's ultimately my point because when the season starts
Yeah.
revving up, you know how it is, man. Like people gonna be letting opinions fly, and I don't think sometimes a lot of times I don't think people are actually thinking about how they're saying certain things. So there may be more vitriol behind what they're saying than what they actually mean, and you just gonna be chasing your tail at that point.
Well, that's
Respectfully.
what I'm saying. But keep in mind that there are media outlets that we all talk about this. Remember, you keep in mind that there is the ESPN first takes, and then now you got Cam and you got Killer. What's the name? You got Killer Cam and you got Murder Mace.
Mace.
They out there too. They're new. You see what I'm saying? When somebody says something, we come on here. The pundits are gonna come on and they're gonna give their opinions. So I'm not under no delusion that I don't understand that this is my opinion. But the thing about it is, I think in the space, I kind of matter. You feel me? So I matter just a little bit in the Deion Sanders ecosystem on YouTube. I kind of have a voice. So that's why I say I cannot allow anything to go past, because sometimes you need somebody who can deal with it, who can break it down for certain people's ears. You hear it and you just sound like, some people may think it's just, oh, it could be one way, but you need to be able to have somebody who can tell you, hey, this is what I'm hearing, and I don't think this is what he meant. But before we go further, guys, let me just let you guys know, if you're trying to come onto the show, right there it says to call in, email jointlp@gmail.com. I think it's pretty clear. I don't think anything is blocking it. Is anything blocking it on your side, guys? DC and Phil? Y'all see that pretty?
Yeah, we can see it good.
Okay, good.
It's just coming up the top part of your head. That's it.
That's fine. That's fine. So yeah, so join TLP live. I think somebody said TH said he wanted to come on the show. Join TLP live at gmail.com. If you want to come and challenge anything that I'm saying, I welcome you to come on the show and challenge anything that I'm saying. But I want people to really clearly understand that some things, depending on the media person, I mean, you can respect certain people. I have zero respect for Paul Finebaum now. I have zero respect now. Keep in mind, I say Josh Pate, when Josh Pate says, oh, this is how Colorado's going to lose, or if Colorado's going to lose, when people like Josh Pate and Joe Klatt, certain people's their reactions or their opinions, they matter a little bit better in my ears, because
they're a lot more
feel
measured.
Right. Some people don't deal with their opinions like somebody, like you had a fight with them, like there is like some type of animosity towards it. All right, so that's why.
Let me ask you this then, because I can understand you can see the venom in Paul Finebaum, and again, having listened to Paul Feinbaum, for I would probably say I don't listen to him as much. Matter of fact, I listen to you. I've listened to you over the past year, way more than I listened to Paul Feinbaum. Though for 20 years, I listened to him driving home from work. I used to work in Birmingham. He was in Birmingham before he went to ESPN. So I listened to him a lot. Here's what I want to give you two. I got a perspective and a question. And again,
Mm-hmm.
this is not thus says DC. This is just asking that Paul Feinbaum is a Tennessee graduate. Paul Feinbaum so lit up his own school that he can't even go back without security. So that's what I was trying to, what feeling I was trying to say to you is that you are absolutely, you should be frying Paul Feinbaum. Y'all should be frying anybody that says crap about Colorado because it is your team. You should stand up, say whatever you should not take this line down. You should be
Mm-hmm.
cooking him, Harry, every last one of you. I'm just going to give you the perspective of kind of say, but you're going to be cooking a whole lot, especially if the wins don't get up there. It just is what it is. But you still should do it because it's your team. Because this is college football. You should stand up for your team. But now I come to perspective. Say DC is a Texas Tech fan, and I come on your show and say this is so. Let's not say DC because folks think I'm a hater anyway. I'm gonna say my name is EP. Let's just make up a name. All right. So I come out here because I was gonna use PP, but no diddy. Anyway, EP.
Pause. Pause.
I know. So let's go with that. So if I came on here and said, "Yeah, I've been hearing y'all Buff fans talking, y'all team trash, your coach trash. I got Tracy Edmonds, I stole him. That's why she left him." I said all kind of crazy stuff. Would you not expect me to do that as a Texas Tech, or would you Texas Tech fan, or would you expect me to come in here? Yeah, y'all looking good, man. Y'all got some dogs, man. Ooh, I was watching Well Off, and woo, I don't know how it's gonna look. I don't know what we're gonna look like. Which one would you expect?
Well, I mean, okay, so I don't know where this is coming from or where it's going, but you're
You
like,
know where it's coming
if you
from
no,
directly. If I'm
I'm
a
trying to
Texas Tech
understand, like
fan,
you, if we're jousting and you're talking, you're a different fan base, and you come in here and you start saying, "Oh, y'all suck" and all that stuff, then I'll take it
right,
as that, right? But keep in
right.
mind that we're talking about perspective, right? Let's talk about perspective a little bit. You're on ESPN. ESPN is a major platform, and you come on there. You have a major platform, and you have a voice. They're bringing you on so you can give your opinion about a team that you barely know. You don't know the team. The team has 42 new players, and you're saying that no, you're not. You get beat easily. You're an easy win for everybody. So where is the easy win coming from? How is he saying that when the team has been replaced in the same conversation? In that same conversation, the lady that was sitting next to him says, "Hey, they've replaced several players already. They've replaced 42 of their players already, right? So it's only a handful of the guys that were there before." So in that same
But
concept, I'm thinking, wait a minute. So how can we be a new team, but then yet you're saying you're easy win for teams. You don't
he
even know
didn't
the
say
team.
that he used the correct tense. He was talking about last season. He said you were. And then also I just want to point out that
He
Heather
didn't say
Dinich
you were. I can
also
play it again for you if you like.
okay. That's fine if I'm wrong, that's fine.
Yeah, let's.
But
I can run it back.
but
I'm serious. I'm just
but
because Shador, the comment that Shador made, the comment was a comment that says we are Super Bowl. We are the Super Bowl for several teams, and he's
mhm.
responding to say you're not this. You're not. He's and
So can I?
he was saying
So let
that
me.
you are
Oh, I'm
an
so,
easy win for teams.
one last point real quick, DC, before you go. I just want to point out that Heather Dinich also said that she didn't think that Colorado had a chance to win the Big 12 or go to the playoffs this year. It
And
just
don't
seems
I ain't
like
come
to your
after her.
point.
You see
No, no,
what
no,
I'm
no, no,
saying?
no. Correct. If I could just get the full statement out. I understand where you're coming from, Harry. You prefer to see a lot more tact when people are talking. Unfortunately, that's just not the way that people are doing stuff in media. But I am with you 100%. I would love to see people be more measured when they're delivering information, because it's a lot more palatable, and we can just get to the nitty gritty and talk about the conversation that's being had instead of having to worry about underlining things that weren't said but really were trying to be said.
Right. Well, what the conversation is the conversation. What he said is what he said. So I'm talking about the fact that he said what he said, and in the visceralness of how he said it is what I'm trying to address right now. It's like, bruh, Paul Finebaum, bruh, like people listen to you. You have a platform. So why are you so venomous? Why are you so angry at Prime? Can anybody out there can anybody answer the question on why? Because y'all know why do you think he's so angry at Prime? Where's it
I don't
coming
think
from?
he's angry at Prime. I think he's angry at fans and the media for boosting them up when he feels like they don't deserve it.
He should be angry at himself then, right?
He even said that he was a part of the problem when he was on the Kublick and McElroy show.
You sure did.
But there's shame on you. That's what I'm saying. There's shame on you. Just stop trying to make it seem like somebody created something, you created something, and now you're turning against your own creation.
Well, didn't Dr. Frankenstein do that?
But I'm just saying, like,
I'm just asking.
You created the monster. You created the monster, and now you're running around trying to chase and kill the monster. Like, come on.
Well,
man.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Again, I totally get it, and that I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it over and over. I don't agree with Paul Finebaum, and I think with what he sometimes try to do to cause that thing, and understand we are in a clique type of environment, so of course, you're going to have people that say favorable things to get Colorado interaction, but you also have noticed negative stuff gets called. I mean, put it like this. If you came on there and said this team is going to be complete garbage, you will see if you looked at, I went and looked in the comment section, and it was a ton of people just engaging with insane things to Paul. And again, that's what Colorado fans should do. You should be standing on business for your team. I would be calling y'all punks if you didn't. But you cannot say that about Colorado fans because y'all stand on business. I salute that. But also, if I wanted to get my views up, and it was all about that, and it's not going to be any effect. What's up, Prime Effect? Then why? Of course, he's going to say something. He's going to say crazy and salacious stuff because it's that time of year.
Yeah. Well, but then if you say crazy stuff, we coming after you. We coming after you. So you got to understand, like, bruh, like you. I don't know, but okay. So now let's deal with the meat of it. All right. Let's take what he said, right, and let's talk about it in honest. Let's do that. I'm gonna play it again, and we're gonna chop it up, and I'm gonna take the elements, and let's deal with the elements that's within what he is saying.
So when you say in honest, you mean no emotions, just going strictly. If we can prove it based off data, that's what we're gonna do. That's what you mean by that, right?
That's what we're doing with the data show. So
I just want to make sure we're using the same definition. Let's go.
No emotions. People already said I'm sold out. I'm a prime hit channel. So people already said that.
Hey.
People said I've turned into a prime hate channel. So let's deal with everything that he said. You can argue the affirmative. You can argue the opposite. But let's deal with it. And you guys in the chat, again, if you want to come on the show, I invite you. You know the email. If you need the email, just let me know. Say Harry B. Drop the email. But let's play it again, and let's take it in bits and pieces, so I can destroy this guy the right way. Let's go.
Back on that for a second. Anyone asking whether Deion Sanders and Colorado are close to the playoffs simply doesn't understand the reality of the road. They're not going to the playoffs this year, and I'm not sure Deion Sanders is ever going to get them to the playoffs because I don't think he has the patience to stay at Colorado long enough. There's so many misconceptions out there. Deion.
Okay. Did you hear that first one?
Yeah, what specifically do you want to touch on?
All right, good. The first one is they're not going to the playoff, right? And they're not ready, and he don't think that they're ever going to get there because Deion does not have the patience enough to stick around. He's not going to be able to stick around to Colorado to ever get them there. Mm-hmm. That's the first one. So let's deal with that. I started off and then I'll kick it to DC, and then Phil, you can go after DC. So I agree with the part where he says they're not ready for the playoff. I'm with that. I don't believe that we have the team to get to the national playoff. And I want to remind everybody before you start throwing stones at me and saying Harry B is a hater, right? We're talking about the national playoff, we're not talking about the Big 12 playoff. He's talking about the national playoff. Is Colorado ready for this 12-team playoff? I don't believe that we are, for the simple fact that this is for it all. This is for everything. You got to get past a lot of teams. All right? You got the 13-0 Florida State. You got Ohio State. You got Georgia. You got you got Alabama. Let me not make feel some kind of way. You got Alabama. You got Texas. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that their line, they can take their line, their offensive and defensive line, and just plug them into the NFL and say go. And I believe they can win some games. That's just how I feel about it. That's the information that where I take away and say, is Colorado ready for that? I would say we're not, because our O-line and our defensive line are kind of duct tape, and they're full of U-Haul players, and they have not shown me this year yet, because they haven't played yet. I don't know that I can make that statement that Colorado is ready. I don't care who's out there reviewing player by player. I don't care who's out there talking. We don't know yet. So we cannot say that Colorado is ready for this graphic right here to beat out all of these teams. All right, Oregon, Michigan, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, it's just a lot for us to get there, and we don't have the pieces and the bodies to make that happen. That's my argument for that. Go ahead, DC.
So what he said about is that, does Dion have the patience? I think that is a reach. You can't say what somebody has the patience to do and can't do. I do. I will say this now, because I push back. I don't appreciate folks talking about my boy Harry B saying he's a hater. He's just giving you a thing, y'all. Because it's like this, Harry. You said earlier, this is just year one. Well, fans, that works both ways. Is that year two with a new DC, though Pat Schumer has experienced new OC, 40-something new players, and then coming in, that's a lot to have the expectations of
So
like
JR,
10
so
and
JR
2.
Boxing is saying I'm negative, right? Okay, good. Go ahead.
But so it's a lot to say that. It isn't to a point where I'm saying it's not impossible and it's not probable. It's just to a point where, say, the probability may not be as high. So I would say my counter to Finebaum is, you do not know what the mindset of Coach Deion Sanders is as far as his longevity at this program. So that's a wash. But I would also sit back and say is that for Colorado fans, you are still building something solid.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at what you got, your schedule next year and what you have coming next year, even though you lose Shador and you lose Travis, y'all can get there next year. Because a lot of these Big 12 teams are not going to have a Camrise, and a lot of stuff is going to be gone. So you have a great chance. You got some. Put it like this: I'm not saying you have no chance this year. I'm just saying you probably have a greater chance next year. So again, one more time, that Colorado, he cannot say what Deion Sanders has the patience for. That is a reach, because he don't know Prime like that.
So you're taking the second portion of that, but do you believe that Colorado can get to the play? It's going to get to the playoff. That was the first portion.
No, I do not. I do not believe that. I do not. From what I know, again, we have not seen that this team, because it's a new team. Again, we don't know. I do not, from what I know, and I think having a new DC is a lot. But we'll see. But I can't say that for a fact that they have what it takes. So I would lean more towards no than yes.
And then South Sinceri is gone, and now we got Lewis, who's been promoted to coach the defensive line. So there's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can call me negative, you can say all that stuff you want, but you're not talking football. If you don't want to talk football, then I understand it. But if I don't know how you think it's negative when I have an opinion based on why I think we're not going to get to the playoffs because there's a lot of moving pieces that has to be put into place. So I don't know that sounds negative. Like, it doesn't make sense. Yo, come on the show. JR Boxing, you've been on the show before. Just come on the show. Let's talk it out because I don't get it. But go ahead, Phil. Your turn.
No, I'm looking at his comment and he says negative Harry. I think he's using negative as like to say no Harry, not saying that you're being
Oh, that
negative.
I'm negative. Okay. Maybe I'm
He's saying like no, I disagree.
Oh, he said Harry B. Not that you are negative. The last statement. Okay. My bad. I'm reading it wrong.
You know me. I try to make sure we put.
Thank you, Phil, for clearing that up because I was about to come for JR Boxing's head. Come on, like,
yeah, no problem. Hey man, listen, man.
I'm ready. I'm charged up and I'm ready, boy.
I try to keep it honest down the middle the best I can. But I won't take up too long, man.
So take the first part. Take it in stride. Take the first part, then the second part. DC did it backwards, but take it first part, and then are we ready for the play? Are we going to make the playoff and then say, is Coach Prime going to stay at Colorado? That's the second part.
No, I don't think you're ready for the playoffs this year. I don't think the team is good enough to win the Big 12, and I also don't think that the Big 12 is good enough to where if Colorado went to the Big 12 championship game and lost, that they would still be able to make the playoffs. So I think the only chance they have, the only chance they have to make the playoffs is winning the Big 12 championship, and I just don't think they got the dogs to do it. I'm a guy that believes in the blue chip ratio. The last 16, I think, champions all have had at least 50% or more blue chips, 4-star, 5 stars on their team. The lowest team to win with a blue chip ratio of 53 was Michigan last year. So I think you got to look at those type of metrics and say who should be your favorite and who isn't. As far as the patient statement about Deion being there, I think it is funny because the conversation that Deion had with Philip Dukes, the guy on 3 Scoop or whatever they call himself, cat from Atlanta, Deion was saying that he had to learn patience this year. So I just think it's funny that in that conversation, Deion was talking about patience, and now Paul Finebaum is talking about patience. So maybe that statement was true last year, but maybe last year gave him the patience he needed to say, all right, so it's going to take me a little bit longer, or it's going to take a little bit more effort to get to what we want to get to, but ultimately we can get there.
So I just wanted to kind of like piggyback on what we said earlier, just to keep in mind, like, why I go after some of these people and I say what they're doing is not fair is because when you go as far as saying, I don't believe they're ever going to get there, and then you say Coach Prime ain't got the patience because he's not going to stay at Colorado because he has no patience. It's like, yo, you're going too far. You don't have to go as far as you're going to make your point. If you just stick with saying, okay, I don't think they're going to go to the playoff, and then give us your reason saying, okay, the team is not ready. We just like the lady said, I forget the lady's name that was next to him. Like Heather she said, Heather. Okay, so Heather, she broke it down and she just gave her opinion based on the football stats. And I'm okay with that. I have no issues with what she did, what she said, and how she said it. I felt like when Paul came on, then it just felt like somebody took his girl. And it's like, yo, like, I don't think they're ever going to get there. Even if he didn't have the patience. If he had the patience, you just feel like you don't think they're ever going to get there. You're taking it way too far, bro.
So while I understand how media works and it is what it is, I will submit to you that, yes, that was probably like the most personal statement of what he said, and you really can't make that statement because if he was talking about maybe somebody like a Kirby Smart or a Nick Saban, somebody that he has more inside track with, then maybe I can receive that statement. But I'm very confident that he don't have any insiders at CU.
Well, let me ask you something.
He don't know Coach Prime for him to say that. Coach Prime ain't got the patience to say I see you. It's weird.
Let me ask y'all this, because remember Stephen A. wanted him to leave and go to Texas A&M because he felt it was going to be hard for Prime to win at Texas, to win the chip at Colorado. So do we not throw Stephen A. into that same conversation? Well, I know Harry has his love for Stephen A. No love lost, rather.
Bruh, I made a video. I made a clone video for what's the name, and I got like 5,000 views off of that video for Stephen A. Smith being a cone. Like,
no
that
problem.
A straight up cone.
None of us believe that.
Now, none of us believe Prime Effect 101. None of us believe that that CU's making the playoff. Like,
Not this year.
not this year. Like the playoff. We're talking about the playoff, not the this stuff. CU's not making this stuff. Not this year. It's just not. The data's not there, and we talk data on this show all the time. Show me your path that CU gets there. I have them at 8-4, and I don't think that 8-4 is strong enough. And your team is not strong enough to make it with an 8-4 record. So I gotta stay consistent. 8-4 is a good season for Colorado to recruit. We need to recruit. You know what I'm saying? We need to recruit, and we need to change the narrative with an 8-4. If we don't get to an 8-4, I feel like it'll be a disappointment because now people are gonna talk about 7 wins and say, y'all barely won. Y'all barely won 3 more games, and it's like y'all barely scraped by. We need to win 8-4. The number 8 is a comfortable place for the narrative to ease up a little bit, so it can change the football and not this personal stuff. Because we're 1 year, and people are going in. People like Finebaum are going in so crazy. Like, okay, y'all ready for number 2? I don't get it.
Let's move on, because I want to make sure we get on. We can hit Cormani too.
Oh yeah, Cormani. We're gonna get to Cormani soon. All right, so let's do number 2. Man, this he's something else, bro.
Anyone asking whether Deion Sanders?
Let me see if I can cue it up.
Deion Sanders is the best salesman I've ever seen. I personally love the guy and for what he stands for. But
no, you don't. Stop lying. You a fake.
Out has a ridiculously inflated view of itself. I heard Shedeur Sanders, who's a fabulous quarterback, say last week, "We are everyone's Super Bowl." Shedeur, you are not. You are an easy win nowadays. You got off to a phenomenal start last year, beating a couple of mediocre teams that had big names. And quite frankly, you haven't done anything since other than crash and burn. So I know that the media loves this story. We fall all over ourselves. But Colorado isn't important in college football. Deion Sanders is.
All right. This one's a 2-part. The first part will deal with the whole no, you're not. Everybody beats you. You feel me? And then we can take the whole part about Colorado is nothing Deion Sanders is. Which one do you want to take first? Phil, you go first. Which one you want first?
I mean, when it comes to the statement about CU ain't popping like that is really prime. Like I kind of gotta believe him on that, because when you talk about college football, a lot of why do we need a CU fan on here to talk?
No,
about
we need a tennis. We need tennis. She's saying we need somebody who's not a football fan, who's more like a cheerleader, to come on here, because we need a more overly positive person.
Okay, well,
somebody who can kind of navigate and say everything's great. CU's gonna go 12-0. We need that. Yeah, because I'm not gonna say that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna try to be quick, because I lost my train of thought just for that split second.
Mm-hmm.
What was the last part he said?
So he said that CU ain't popping. You took the
I'm sorry
first.
Yeah. So I think it is all about Deion. It's really not about Colorado like that, because even Deion said it. When people come to Colorado, they're not coming to Colorado to play for Colorado. They're coming for Deion. They're coming for Prime. So he already know what the deal is. So I think that's a true statement. As far as saying you're an easy win nowadays, I stand corrected. He was saying in present tense. The thing about these heavy transfer portal teams is you never really know what they're going to look like, especially when the meat and potatoes of the team is transfer portal.
Hey Phil, let me pause you right there for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's remember that everybody was saying this same thing in 2023 before everything started, right? They didn't know the team. We got 42 new players coming in this year. They didn't know the team, so they said TCU going to beat us. Right. They're going to mollywop us, right? They said TCU going to do this and TCU going to do that. We go into TCU, we beat them. Here he is again saying you're easy win for people, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't know this team again, and here you are. That's why I keep saying it. Why is this so personal for you? You're not evaluating this team. So are you evaluating the team, the new 42 players?
But
The
Harold, we
BJ
also have to
Greens, the
be
Khalil Bensons? Are you evaluating the Lesters, the Westers? Are you doing anything?
no, he's not.
That's what
Just,
I'm
just I
saying.
mean,
You're easy
just to be
win.
simple,
So if
no,
we are
he's
easy
not.
win, then that means that you don't think that Jordan Seaton is good. You don't think that the new line is good. You're not looking at none of this and saying that, oh my goodness, I think these guys can actually win based on what they got in. You're taking it personal. Like, Shador, you're not. You were an easy win.
I'm
Bruh.
gonna just say this real quick and then hand it over to DC. I just want to point out that you said, well, all these guys last year was saying we brought in all these new guys, they're gonna be this, they're gonna be that, and TCU is gonna blow them out, and look at what happened. Okay, I will give you that, but there were also people at the start of the season that said Colorado would barely make it to a bowl game, and those people were right because they didn't even make it to a bowl game.
But yeah,
So
but we're
it
not
works
dealing
on
with those
it's
people
two
though.
sides it's
We're
two
not
sides
talking
to
about
that
those
same
people.
coin though.
We're not. See, look, I'm not talking about those. I didn't say the season was a success. I'm not going as far. I'm just saying, remember, we started off the conversation early in the season in 2023 with me trying to put out fires, like you're saying, the same thing. This is how I became popular because of my loud mouth, right? That's how people kind of found, like, who is this guy? Oh my gosh, he's a breath of fresh air. They were saying all kinds of things, right? So here I am. Again, we're having this conversation again. Here we are again, and people are saying the same thing. And then you're going to say, in that same conversation, in that same thing that he said, you went on to beat a few mediocre teams, and then you crashed and burned. Okay. Remember,
That's a true statement though.
right. Okay, but remember, TCU was not mediocre. Notre Dame was, not Notre Dame. Why keep saying Nebraska was not mediocre
Their
because it was.
defense wasn't for sure, yeah.
So you were, remember now, you were saying that they were not mediocre when the season was not there yet. When we were paper tigers, I got receipts. All right. So, but now we're saying it all over again. And that's why I'm saying, what happens if we do win and we do make it? Then what is the conversation happen? What happens to that conversation?
Then
Because,
they will explain how it happened. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward.
but it shouldn't be that easy. Then we need a jail. We need to put certain media people in jail, in media jail, and say, you stay over there for a whole year. Don't come back on this show. Let's not talk about you because you are a hater. Because if you just don't know how to just balance your speech, if you don't know how to just stay quiet, then we need to put you in media jail and you say you stay over there because you are outlandish.
So why can't we have the same for the lovers of Prime that went out there
Because we're
and just
fans.
was
We don't
just
have platforms. No, you don't get to do that to us because we're fans.
What you mean?
We are
Skip? You mean
supposed to
like
be
Skip
this way. We
Bayless?
don't have these big
Skip Bayless,
platforms and
Shannon
these big
Sharp, Stephen A.
microphones.
Smith?
No,
You
if
did
you
have
have
you
a
did.
megaphone, if you have a megaphone, we hold you to a standard. You cannot hold the fans to a standard. What a standard you can?
No,
We're on the
but you
streets.
but you're saying that we need to have a jail and all this kind of stuff. I'm saying so if Paul Finebaum say something sideways about Colorado improving and is proven wrong and he got to be banished for a year, then why
Yep.
can't the same be on the flip side for a Skip Bayless that was just all over the place for Dion last
Oh,
year?
you say if they say we're gonna win and then we don't win?
Correct, yes sir. That's what I'm saying.
So if we don't win, if you're saying like, but you keep in mind that if you're saying I believe they're going to win, it's a difference, and saying and then saying I believe they're going to lose. There's a difference in that tune. They're saying I believe they're going to win and I believe they're going to lose. But if you're
Okay.
saying these things right, and the way that your tone is, you're coming off like you're not even evaluating why you think you said they're easy win. How are they an easy win and you haven't even seen these new players play yet? But they're an easy win. That means you're taking it personal on what he said about we are everybody's Super Bowl. That means you're going a little further. It's really personal for you. No, you're not. You're an easy win. Like, what?
I got you.
You feel me? Like, it's like, yo, don't take it personal. You're immediate. DC, let's get your thoughts in.
Well, I think the thing is, I agree with where a lot of where you're coming from. Is that I don't believe Colorado is an easy win, and I definitely could see the issue fans would have with what he said and basically saying you're nothing. That was outside the line, personally. With that said, though, any other 4-8 team, if we told them they're nothing, nobody would have a problem with it. If I said that about UTEP, if I said that about Iowa State, if I said that about Maryland, no one will have an issue. If I said that about TCU last year, no one will have an issue. But again, I expect fans to stand up for your team. That's what you're supposed to do. Now, as far as do I think that Shador should have said everybody's our Super Bowl? And I hear people saying that and they move the goalpost around as well as some people have different definitions of it. I don't know. I think that was not a good statement to make. Let me explain to you why. Super Bowl means that the people say, well, it's because of the eyeballs. Super Bowl means that at the end of this game, you achieve something that will be considered great. I hate to say this, and again, this is not the says DC. This is just a true statement. Most folks, Colorado fan, I love you. That's why I'm in this space. But most fans do not like some of your fan base that can be absolutely way over the top. So and the comment that was made, a lot of those folks are going, I want to beat you to shut you up. Not that I can sit back and run around and say I won, as much as I want to hear you talk smack about me the whole week afterwards. So you have to understand that's a common thing in football. That's a common thing in basketball and baseball or all sports. Nobody, if you have a team that can be kind of like that stand on business, like Colorado, very open, very dynamic, like to talk stuff back and forth. Some people just like to talk that trash. Prime was great at it. Folks want to shut you up. And that's part of what y'all getting is a little bit of folks saying, nah, I'm kind of tired of it. I want to shut you up. That's their prerogative to do that, though.
I'm holding everybody that has a megaphone accountable for how they say things when they do say things. That's what I'm doing. I need to hold you accountable because you have a
Yes,
megaphone.
do that. You should do
You know
that.
what I'm saying? Like, because at the end of the day, it's like you're because you're messing up my money. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're messing up our money. You're messing up our chances. You're messing up our recruits. You're messing things up for me, and you're being messy. So we need to call these people out because their megaphones are loud, and if nobody calls them out, their recruits are left to their own devices. Parents and guardians who don't understand why certain things are being said and how they're being said, they don't have nowhere to go. There's no conversations being had. Then these people go off and they mess with your money and they get away with it. The same thing goes when you have the same thing goes when you have the draft, where you have the commentators just going off on these players and saying all kinds of just crazy things to try to mess up their draft stocks. So that's why I'm like, yo, man, you can't. You're messing up my money because your microphone is loud. You are affecting change, and I don't like it. And that's why somebody has to say something to you. Somebody who's at least able to articulate what you're saying and make it make sense. But let's turn our attention to we've had enough of that Paul Finebaum stuff. That's let him come again, and we're gonna deal with some of that stuff. But all right, so let's turn our
I agree.
attention
Do
to
it.
Cormani McClain. Cormani McClain, when he left Colorado, for those of you who are new, who don't know the story, because we can't pretend that everybody knows what the situation was. And if you're watching this video, this is your first time watching. Cormani McClain was recruited by Colorado, by Coach Prime. He went on, Coach Prime pretty much rolled out the red carpet for him, gave him everything he needed to have, gave him one of the biggest platforms that he could have. But Cormani McClain, his character, and some of the things that some things that he wasn't ready for, it kind of started to show, and people started to say things. Coach Prime started to say things. Eventually, Coach Prime said, "Hey, man, we gotta, you gotta go." Because Cormani himself said in his exit video, right, that is infamous now, in that green thing that he was wearing, right, trying to appease trying to appease the Oregon Ducks, which did not work, right? So he made a video, and in that video, he even said that it was not on him. The decision was not on him. Well, no, it wasn't that video. It was actually one of the chat rooms. It was on a Twitter chat room that he got into, and somebody asked him, "Why did you leave?" And he said that it was not on me, it was on them. So that means that Coach Prime and his staff, they decided to just wave him and say, "Man, go ahead and go find yourself a new home." So Cormani, when he left, he made a video. And he said that he wanted to play for a real team. He didn't want to play for clicks and views. He wanted to, get back to himself being the real Cormani. Some of the things that were levied against him, he was missing meetings. He was missing a lot of things. He was not, he was not showing up on time. And Coach Prime, if we know anything about Coach Prime, if everybody, no matter how many people hate Coach Prime, I think there's a consensus about his standards. He has a very high standards on how he lives his life, and he has a very high standards on how he carries himself. Whether you agree with him with football or not, even Paul Finebaum would tell you that he agrees with Prime on his standards. So, Coach Prime's standards, Cormani was not meeting those standards. So Cormani says he doesn't want to play for clicks and da. He said all these things. People are lying on his name and blah, 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 blah. He goes to the Gators as a preferred walk-on. Nobody wanted him. So he goes to the Gators. Billy Napier and his team said, all right, we'll let you come on because we're out of scholarships. We ain't got nothing for you. But if you come over here, we'll work something out. We know you got the money because you make like $300,000 a year and you got the money. So just come on over here and come play some football. He goes over there, and now there's a report coming out that Cormani McClain has behavior issues with Billy Napier. Everybody was saying that Coach Prime was wrong. If Coach Prime was wrong, then
who was saying Coach Prime was wrong?
Oh my gosh! If you were to look at it, a lot of people were saying that Coach Prime, Coach Cormani was ran off the team. Coach Prime, like all the stuff that Coach Prime was saying that is, you have people who had their opinions about why people were leaving the team, especially Cormani McClain, which was one of the biggest people to leave the team. All right, so here we go. Let's read this thing. Let's get it on tape. An appearance for a foreign post, De La Torre was asked about the report. The reporter seemingly hinting at the cornerback having behavior issues. Let's see, is this a thing here? Can I get okay? Anyways, calling him immature. There it goes. Calling him immature, and let me take this thing off the screen. Hold up, let me see. Okay, I can take that off. It's not coming off. And that he needs to grow up. All right. Now, here it goes. I was told that Cormani McClain has been late to most of the requirements, the meetings. All right, lifting. That means the workouts and stuff, etc. The way that is handled is sort of like a strike system. Essentially, you get a warning, then you have to do extra lift or run. You have to run. He's in the weight room he's in the weight gain program. So Cormani's a little small, right? Some people felt like he was not big enough, so he was in a weight gain program so that he can get his weight up. Now you're playing with the big boys, right? So we would have to do extra lifting, which he showed up late to as well. You're not going to be liked in the locker room if your tardiness, immaturity is causing the rest of your team to have to run. Goes to what I said about him when Florida took the flyer on him. Just immature, needs to grow up. All right, Phil, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna have to channel my inner Jason Whitlock, and I'm gonna have to say, sometimes you got to judge a book by its cover. And when I saw him when he flipped to Colorado, I had high hopes for him as far as a talent is concerned. But I hate to say it, I'm not really surprised at some of the off the field issues that he's having. And I just hope that whatever needs to happen that's not drastic for him to change, I hope that happens, because a lot of times something overly drastic has to happen for us to really turn our lives around. So I hope that he can prevent to have a real wake up call, and he gets his act together.
DC, what are your thoughts about Cormani's continued behavior issues?
So I'm going to tell y'all about a soldier that I got. I'll use this as an example. And he was just all into all kind of stuff, man. And they was finna put him out. And it was just all over the place. And so I wound up coming in, and I was his commander. And I said, hey, all right, so here's what I'm hearing, that you've had all these issues, all this stuff going in. I said, but you're with me now. So the bottom line is this. If you got a clean slate with me, and y'all know I'm really not mild manner unless I have to go to 10, and I will go all the way to 12. So I said, so at the end of the day is you do what you got to do. I'm going to set you up for success. You lose some weight, you do certain things, you get yourself straight away, fine. Kept not doing what he got to do. Kept not doing what it is. Kept not doing it. It went off, boom, over and over and over and over and over and over. And I had to say, hey man, didn't I tell you need to do what you need to do? Didn't. So he didn't. It got ugly, but at the end of the day, is he had to go. When y'all heard me say on the show, is that when a person becomes a detractor to the mission, they gotta go, and that's the sad thing. Sometimes with young people, you can't re-get them at that place in life, so you gotta let them go. And whoever let him go at Colorado was wise. Now I'm not gonna say that wasn't things at Colorado because sometimes one of the reasons I kept that soldier is because I realized some of the other leaders had failed him on some things that they didn't do. So that's why I'm giving you the balance. But as far as once you hit this point where they're not showing up on time, if you can't show up on time, then you can't depend upon that person. And unfortunately, if this is true, because it's all alleged, that I think Cormani may need to find another place to go. I would ask him to find another place to go personally, if
Like,
it's true.
all right, so let me bring on Common Sense Buffs. Welcome to the show, Common Sense Buffs. You guys will probably remember him as Mr. 614, but now he's joining the fold and joining the Buff ecosystem, Coach Prime ecosystem. Got his own channel now and talking Buffs talk. So Common Sense Buffs, man, welcome to the herd. Welcome to the ecosystem. I hope you can eat off of anything you can get out of here. God bless you, brother. But thank you for joining the show. I appreciate you calling in.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, man. Harry B. You know the love is real. The TLP Sports and Bandwagon Buffs community is always love, man. I love the conversations and I love the common sense, hence the name.
All right. So, okay. So we help you with that name. I'm glad I have something to do with that. I take that personal.
Hold on, hold on 1 second. If we let me, what's man? Glad to have you back. I got a question. If it's common sense, let's start off with some with the thing of welcome back, bro. That's all I really wanted to say is welcome back. Looking forward to a great chat with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All
All
right.
right,
So
well, we talking Carmani?
yeah, we're on Cormani McClain right now, and we're trying to understand, like, some people try to distract around from Coach Prime when he tries to let people know that there's a standard here, and we're gonna adhere to the standard. We can talk football, but there's a standard here. So, what are your thoughts on the warning that Coach Prime has put out to the media? Some people saying that, oh, it's all Coach Prime fault, but then some people knew that Cormani had some issues. What are your thoughts on the fact that we are now hearing that the issues are continuing?
Yeah, I think usually we have issues when the other person's style doesn't match the way we would handle something. So one of the things I think with Coach Prime is nothing that he does is conventional. You would think that if there was an issue and a reporter asks you about it, why isn't Cormani playing? A lot of coaches might not say the truth. But what Prime put right out there is he's not playing because he's not following the rules, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
said right up front, it's not going to be me that goes. It's going to be the person who's not following the rule that's going to go, right? So in a way, America for the first time saw, and I don't want to over exaggerate this point, somewhat of a man taking a father figure role, not just with a player, but with his entire team.
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying to set an example, not only for Carmani, but anybody else in the locker room who was even thinking that what Carmani was doing was acceptable. Right. So for those kids who can respond just by you saying something, they probably got in line. But there are some kids who don't respond when you say something.
Mm-hmm.
So they just have to learn based on them experiencing the consequences of their own decision. So we watched it all play out. At first, my visceral reaction was like, man, I don't like the fact that he said that in the press. But I'm not going to like everything that Prime does or his approach. What I can see in hindsight is that at least about the issues that caused Carmani to leave the program, those issues were real. They weren't manufactured. These are not artificial standards that only Prime has. The expectation, if you go to any Power 4, Power 5 program, is that you're going to abide by the rules. And that's not going to change whether you're in Florida or you're in Colorado. So that's my takeaway. It's unfortunate for this young man, because we all know we live in an era of brands. And once you get branded as something, it's very hard to turn it around.
Facts.
And so Phil, did I get your thoughts yet or no?
Yeah, yeah, you already got my thoughts. I was just saying facts. I was just agreeing with common sense buffs.
So at the end of the day, guys, we have a situation here where I want to talk a little bit about expectations, Coach Prime, what he's trying to do, because let's tie Paul Finebaum and what he said with this whole Cormani McClain situation, right? Because when you look at it, Coach Prime, he made a statement where he said during the Big 12 media day, where he said, "My wings are different. Everything that we do here is going to be evaluated a little differently than what everybody else does." Coach Prime is he has to deal with what other college coaches have to deal with, but when it gets out there, when it's talked about, is dealt with a little differently. So when Coach Prime says those type of things, and when he puts it out there, the first question I want to ask y'all, and I'll get y'all opinion individually, is Common Sense Buffs just said that in hindsight, should we wait for hindsight, or should some of us understand and be a man or a woman and be able to evaluate things, or should we always be waiting for hindsight for somebody to be validated in our eyes? That's the question.
I can jump in on that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I would say you it's human nature to react to anything that's happening. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a dark room, somebody turn the lights on, you're gonna react, right? So I think it is fine to react, but I think it is better to react with logic and sound reason when you hear certain things come out in the media, or you just have certain experiences. But then later on, as you get new information, you need to be willing to change. I don't think you have to wait and look for hindsight, because you may not get that confirmation in a certain amount of time. But you at least need to be able to be willing to consume new information that may change your mind or may add more to the case that you have.
All right, DC, what are your thoughts? And hey, Wild Dog, thanks for subbing to Common Sense Buffs. Guys, if anybody else out there, this is my brother, man. This is my countryman from Liberia. If you got a chance, guys, please sub to his channel. Let's help his channel grow, okay? All right, so DC.
I appreciate that. DC, how was my salute, man? Is it all right? Am I here? Am I
DC
here?
light skin.
Yeah,
DC light skin. You don't know nothing about no
hey,
salute.
that's all. You know what? You got. I can't see that. You got to make sure I can't see the white of your hand. I need to just see it straight. Good job, though. Definitely.
He don't want to see the light skin part of your hand. He want to see.
He want to see that ash. That ash.
Good job.
Go ahead, DC. JR Boxing also subscribed. So salute. Yeah, it's working, brother. It's working.
It is.
Let's get your thoughts, brother.
Restate what would you like me to speak from, and I'll be very direct and brief.
Should we always wait for hindsight, or should we be like men and women and just stand on what we know that somebody is? Because a lot of times it's easy for you not to believe somebody because of somebody's opinions. Like a lot of people have like opinions about Prime. A lot of people always also have a lot of opinions about who they think I am as well. Until if somebody comes to you like, oh my gosh, somebody said that you were this way, but now that I've seen you and I've heard you talk, oh my gosh, I don't believe them. So it's like it's like something about us as human beings. Like, should we always wait for hindsight, or should we give people more grace? Especially Coach Prime.
Well, there's a such thing. I believe there's grace. Something I learned in my short time as a police officer. There's a such thing as enough evidence to make an arrest, enough evidence to indict, and then all the evidence. So what happens sometimes is that people will not get enough evidence. They'll get one piece. And a smoking gun does not mean that that person shot the person. It just means they had a smoking gun in their hand. It's
Mm.
likely that they did it, but you don't know. So I think that we have to sometimes wait and not assign motives and intent until we get enough to make reasonable decisions. But I understand how the social media space is. People rush to be the first. People do things. I notice over here we have more conversations versus condemnation. And that's a powerful thing to be able to just, hey, let's just take a look at it. And I think sometimes that's why people may be a little not used to your perspective because you're looking at the 360.
Mm.
So I think you should wait till you get enough evidence. And sometimes that's what a pattern. We see a pattern from Cormani, from high school to Colorado
Mm-hmm.
to Florida. So we can make an assessment of saying something is not clicking. I'm going to always sit here and tell you on college campus, especially the campus like Florida, everybody is not mature enough to be in college. It doesn't matter how phenomenal an athlete they are. You have a lot of time to do what you need to do. So again, to answer that question, being able to wait till we get enough evidence, and I think we have that in it to go ahead and make that determination.
Y'all remember when Cormani came late to the bus, and I mean there was just so many red flags, and people started saying it. Even sometimes, I mean, I would say some of the red flags, and people would come against us and be like, "Well, he's a kid. He just came from high school. He's young. Give him time." And we kept saying the same thing, and then Coach Prime comes out and says certain things, and we were still kind of like, "Oh, but he's young and he's young." But I'm like, well, Dylan Edwards is also young. There's a lot of young players around this kid, but he just seems to be off. Like, why should we give him so much more grace than any of the other players? Like, coming on time should not be an issue. What are
Now,
your thoughts
Harry,
on that?
remember, just before you get there, remember during that time I would be saying little things, but I wouldn't come out and say it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I
because
remember.
it was little things I would say. I was like, ooh, because having led young men and women in that age group and even on
Mm-hmm.
college level, have seen enough to see the patterns to go, oh man, you got some things going on right there. And that may be to a point of lack of self discipline. And then we see it now. But you were saying things, but I saw the pushback that you kept getting of just even asking the question was condemned.
Can I ask a question really quick, Hair, if you don't mind?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Phil.
So I know you just talked about like do you stand on what you believe on up front, or do you kind of wait for hindsight? There was a point. I can't remember the specific show or the specific topic, but we were talking about. I think we were talking about like the depth chart and who needed to be where and things of that nature. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, sometimes if somebody suck, we just need to be able to say they suck, right? And I
Right.
think if somebody is just a behavior issue, if somebody just don't have what it takes, what it looks like is going on with Kamani, if all the alleged is to be true, I feel like we should be able to say that. It's going to be hard to have tact when you're being um, forward about a young man, and especially not being positive, so to speak. But I think we should be able to come out and say something, because who's to say if more people didn't come out and say something earlier, he could have got whatever help that he needed, and then all of this could have been avoided. He'd be the number two cornerback starting. Him and Travis shutting down everybody. They go to the Big 12 championship, and all's well that ends well.
But okay, so CFB, let me speak to what he just said, and then you can take it. But I think this plays into the bigger conversation that we're having about the Buffs' future. Um, if what Phil is saying, we should be able to say how we feel about our assessment, our assessments about the team. Like, we're saying 8-4, we may not we may not go to the playoffs, but then it's like, how a lot of people to just wait until the season goes a certain way before they can lash out. And this is something that we talked about before. But should people wait? Should people not, if they feel a certain way, if college football is a certain way, right? If college football, certain things about college football, that, that's why I believe on certain things that Paul Finebaum is saying, even though I feel like he's saying it a little bit personal. But if you know that college football goes a certain way, but you're the type that you just want Colorado to be 12-0, then it, like what Phil is saying, isn't that the same idea of us, assessing the team and saying, well, no, this is, the team is not going to be able to do this. They're not going to be able to do that based on the pieces that we got in place. And should part of the fan base allow us? And I want you to be very careful how you answer this question, because your channel is new. And brother, like, I don't want you to lose fans before you get fans, right? So, should we be able to say how we feel about the team based on the football statistics and not always having to be pom-pom holders?
Well, yeah, I think we owe it to the fans to be honest and disagree, but not be disagreeable. I miss the Paul Finebaum comments. Is one thing I think what you're trying to say, or maybe what you did say, Harry B, is that it's okay to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't be disagreeable in the process. Don't, because human beings, most of our communication is in tonality, the cadence,
Mm-hmm.
the body language. Like, you could say something to me, and if I'm a wise person, I could hear the undertones. We all know condescension when we hear it, right? We all know a backhanded compliment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every compliment that he gave Prime was not about his abilities as a coach. Yeah, he's unproven, but
Right.
everything was like, he's charismatic. He's the greatest salesman in the
Right. He's the
world.
greatest. Right, exactly.
He gave him all the compliments except the fact that maybe he could be a good coach, right? He dismissed every accomplishment. So going from one win to 4 wins, he didn't even mention that as something. He was like, "Oh, they beat a couple of big name teams that were nowhere last year." So it wasn't just about, "Oh, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team." There
Mm-hmm.
was this undertone behind what he was saying, and I
Mm-hmm.
understand what he's saying. And I think as fans, we need to call balls and strikes, right? And if the team is not playing well, and they're supposed to be running the ball because we were promised a more balanced attack, and they're not running the ball, it's not out of bounds to say, why isn't Colorado running the ball in year 2? Right? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any issues with talking about the facts. Is the undertone, is the body language that I sense when other people are talking about Prime. And I think that's what a lot of Colorado fans are trying to articulate. It's like, okay, it's the criticism, but then there's a little bit something
Hey, there's an
extra that
extra.
feels
Yeah.
like it's about Shador as a person, or it feels like it's about Prime as a person, or it feels like the culture is being attacked that Prime is building. And that's why I love that he starts every press conference with all the other impacts that he's having on campus. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
applications are up
Mm-hmm.
40%. Minority student enrollment is going to be up in 2024. Highest GPA, because he's talking about all the other things he knows you're not going to give him credit for. That's never
Right.
going to get clipped out. But I think that's really what we're dealing with as Colorado fans, and that's where really what we need to call out is, you might not even understand this, and you might be expressing this on a subconscious level, but it's like Prime's confidence is rubbing you the wrong way. And he has
Mm-hmm.
that cliche line, "Why is my confidence offending your insecurities?" And that's really what we need to talk about. We can keep it football, we can criticize people, but there's a little bit something else going on when it comes to Prime in Colorado.
I
All
got
right,
a quick
Phil, before
question
you
though.
go, I just want to acknowledge Gerald D. We do have a term here. Jared D said, Mike, yeah, you're right. That's what you haters do. I like Dion Butt. We don't call the but we call them butters. They're not haters, because I think DC and Phil are butters, right? They're not haters. We don't call them haters here. They're
That's how the
butters.
SEC roll, man. That's the
Yeah,
SEC life. They've been doing it for a long time.
we've identified, we've classified the different levels of distraction or detraction, and we've said, okay, these guys don't necessarily hate Primes, but they got this thing where I love Prime, but so they're called butters. I just want to let you know, Gerald D, they're called butters, and DC is probably the president or the CEO of the butters. DC, I know you want to say something about that before I just before-
Well, I look at it this way: is that if you can disprove, if somebody can disprove, I'm not saying I'm 100% accurate, but if you can disprove what I'm saying, by all means, jump on a panel or drop it in there. But at the end of the day, is I'm going to talk. I think that's what some people don't realize is that, and this is said with love, this college football, we're gonna talk it. We're gonna talk good, we're gonna talk the bad, we're gonna talk the ugly.
yeah.
I'm not shaking no pom pom. Didn't shake the pom pom for Bear. I didn't
Mhm.
shake the pom pom for Saban, and I ain't shaking them for Prime. Somebody else can do that. That's fine. What I want to sit here and say is, I see where you're doing great in this area. I see where you kind of building this one. Here's your strength, and then hey, you got a spot over here. You need to wipe that window down. That's as simple as that. But if that's considered, hey, I have no problem with that. I can take it. Thick skin
DC,
here.
they call me a hate channel now. I'm a perm hate channel now. So, hey, man, if I'm a hate channel, then that's a strong thing. Then we got to reevaluate hate. But let me let Phil go because I think Phil wanted to say something. Phil, go ahead, man. Sorry, we skipped you a little bit.
No, I ain't gonna hold you. I kind of forgot what I was going to say, so it's all good. But
Hey,
I'm really enjoying the conversation. Though.
but I will say this. All right, so like for example, I invite Colorado Buff players, fans, to take a look at when the fall comes. Take a look at some of the other teams. Like, go look at what Gundy says when they do their coaches show on Mondays. You're going to generally see things like that where they talk about like what players are doing, keys of the game. You're also going to see when some of these other coaches come, they do talk about like some of the things like they'll say they won't necessarily GPA, but they do things. So I do think on one thing when CSB said that was phenomenal, like when Prime comes out and talk about the when he comes out and talks about like the GPA and stuff. But I'm also going to invite you to look and see what some of the other coaches do, because sometimes it may seem like it's very Prime centric, but it's not. Some stuff is, but not everything is. You'll see there's some commonalities, and so that's just something to consider as we get into the fall, just to kind of take a look. Pick you another team, maybe in another conference. It doesn't have to be SEC. Let's say pick Iowa, and then go and see what those coaches sometimes say after a
Oh,
game, and then compare it to what Prime may say.
hey,
All right,
DC.
hang on, real quick. I'm sorry, Phil, but here's the thing: crime sucks all the oxygen out of the room, which is part of the reason why you can't hear them. It's like we're just living in Prime's world in college football. He's just letting people live. And I think that's what Paul Finebaum is saying. He's like, Kirby Smart been saying this for 15 years. Whoever Nick Saban been winning he's a legend. Why are we not talking about them? I think that's the point he's trying to get to. And he's like, Prime's celebrity is making all other programs, no matter their accolades, irrelevant. And worst case scenario, Prime could go, and I'm not saying this, y'all. Don't come destroy my channel and unsubscribe. All right. Don't click this and say this is what I said. What I'm
Tread
saying is
lightly.
nothing is going to change about the oxygen that he sucks out of the room, even if they go 4-8 again. I'm not saying they're going to go 4-8.
Right.
What they can't understand or even appreciate is the fact that this is bigger than football. This
I
is
don't.
bigger than football.
I don't think they're ever gonna get there. But Phil, I want to say
Sorry to
thank
interrupt
you.
you, my brother.
I want to say thanks to Phil So Real doing the Lord's work, gifting one membership. I believe it went to Milwaukee. Is that what that's
Yeah,
Milwaukee Jeff?
yeah. Milwaukee Jeff is who it went to.
Milwaukee Jeff, I appreciate you becoming a welcome to the membership. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Phil. Phil, you had something to say. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so real quick, DC brought up he said pick your team from a different conference and kind of look at them and see how they do things. And
Mhm.
I had an idea that I meant to run by you and I forgot about it, but DC saying it just made me think about it. So do you remember what number Colorado was ranked preseason on CBS? Was it 10 or 11?
Preseason?
The preseason ranking that we've been using to go over the Big 12.
Oh, no,
What were they
11.
ranked in the conference? They were ranked 11.
Colorado's ranked 11. Yeah, from
Okay,
CBS.
gotcha. So my suggestion is we pick we go through each conference's preseason ranking on CBS, and whoever the 11th team is, that is now a team that we're gonna adopt on the TLP Sports Club channel. And so since CU was the underdog, we're gonna find the same underdog in each conference and root for them. And then that way, since DC, brought up the point, find some other teams and see kind of how they do stuff, we can see how other teams kind of operate and how they do things. That'll give us a chance to learn different conferences. Because if CU does how a lot of us want them to do, they're eventually going to have to play some of these other schools in different conferences in a bowl game, whether it be in the playoffs or a bowl game. So just putting that out there as a suggestion.
Well, I mean, I just want to let everybody know that we've been going down the line. If Paul Finebaum was to kind of join the show, he would understand we've been going down the line. If you don't know the Big 12 and you don't know the teams and you don't believe Colorado can make it and all that stuff, then hey, look at the teams in the Big 12. Look, like, I would like for him to articulate sometimes and say, hey, CBS has gone down the list of Big 12 teams and said, well, the Big 12 is wide open. Colorado could be one of those dark horse teams that can break through and make and could pop a few balls bounce our way. We might escape in. We might get in there. He don't do that. Paul Finebaum, no, you're not. You're easily beatable. Like, bro, like, come on.
But if that's what he truly believes, then I say we should let him stand on business. If he's being truthful and he's not just doing it for clicks, then I'm cool with it.
Don't do this media thing where Colorado starts to put up those wins and start beating teams handily, and then you come back and then where's your face going to be at? Where are you going to be at when Colorado proves to you once again that Colorado is not the team that you're talking about? That you should really take maybe a finer comb look and do what we're doing over here, and we're breaking down the data. That's why I do those unpopular shows, the worst view shows. All right? You think I don't want the views and I don't need it? I do the worst view shows because we're looking at the data. I want everybody to go back now and just look at when Paul Finebaum and everybody else talks. We've been doing shows where we've been breaking down every single team in that Big 12 and saying their weaknesses, some of their strengths, who they got. I'm making videos and I'm putting it all out there. All right. I think the last video that I did was OSU. I think Texas Tech is next. The next team I'm going to be covering is Texas Tech, and so it's like, bro, we're doing the work, and I just look for the media to do the work, to do their homework too.
Right. So what you're looking for is an impartial media that will basically say, hey, because of X from A, B, and C, these are things why I say Colorado may not necessarily be at the top. And I think what we're asking for is the cordial, but understand that I guess I'm listening to you trying to see the blend of, well, if you get to say we coming, then if somebody says you ain't finna bust a grape, then again, that's not me. That's not DC. That's say DC. I'm saying that. If somebody, like, can they say that?
Bust a grape, but pause. No, Diddy, something, bro. I know y'all in the South, but come on, man.
Okay.
New York, my ears be going.
I know, but what I'm saying is,
a grape.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if you think about it, just bear with me for a second. It seems like we want to be cordial when we want to hear all the great things. If Paul Finebaum came up there.
Stop it, DC.
Listen,
let me stop you for a second. No, I can't let you finish. Let me stop you for a second. We're not idiots over here. I told you that Kendrick Lamar said the people are smart enough out here. We're not babies who don't know how to talk football talk and who can't take it. I'm saying just make it about football and we're good, but don't have this like common sense.
I get that. I agree.
If you talk football, we're big enough and we're okay to take it. I mean, we can. DC, come on now. We talk football all the time.
But Harry, what I'm saying is, like, right now, if you say a negative comment, somebody will be sitting here saying Harry B is a hater, and now he's being negative.
Like son of Yahweh saying I'm a prime hate. That's fine. You
Right.
can say I'm a prime,
But if
but the thing is, you got to show evidence. Like, if I show the evidence that I'm a prime hate channel, like unless you're just coming in here to try to you can't be the son of Yahweh if you're just coming in here to just be against to cause me to lose people without no evidence, because everybody knows that here I'm a prime fan. So for you to come in here and try to distract and try to make me lose money from my own fans, if that's what you're doing, then you can't call yourself a son of Yahweh because you have no evidence. You see what I'm saying? Like, either come on the show and show me your evidence, right? Or change your name. I'm gonna start calling you son of Damien.
don't do that. But what I'm saying, what I'm saying is something, yeah. Well, of course, we kind of having a good time with this stuff. But I think the point
I know.
being is that
Son of
if
Yahweh,
I
that
can
was
say,
a hit. Son of Yahweh, that was
yeah,
a hit. I want you to come on and bring it. I want you to bring all the pain you got. Let's go. I'm ready for you.
right. And Harry, I think Jr. was trying to get in. He sent an email. But what I'm basically saying is, if I can say 15-0, which you don't know, if I say 0-12, like at this point, of course I'm not saying 0-12. What I'm saying is that kind of seems to be the thing, is that just an observation. You have to be favorable and complimentary, and if you say anything that seems remotely negative, even if it's a fact, then that there seems to be this thing of everyone is automatically a hater, and not to a point where, okay, well, why are you saying this, DC, or why are you looking at it? If I sit back and say, I believe you have some phenomenal starters on both sides of the ball, that's a true statement. But if I sit back and say, I think your depth is not good enough to go through a year, through an entire season, because you have because you're going to be in a bruising conference. It's going to be a lot more contact, and it's harder to stay healthy in that. That's not a hate statement. That's just saying that's a factual thing. So I can't say you're going to be 10 and
All right,
12 because
DC.
injuries
Let
do
me
happen.
answer
That's
that.
part of the game.
Let me answer that. Let's deal with that, because remember we did a show on one of the shows. We did a segment where we try to separate. This is how we came up with the butters. Remember that we try to separate the different types of fans that we have at CU, because there are some fans that they don't want to hear anything that sounds critical at all, right? So we have to evaluate the fan base, and we have to separate people. You have your people like Son of Yahweh, who says like, if you are critical in any kind of way, then you are turning into a hate channel. Even though I have videos on my page, and you can go to my YouTube channel and see all of my videos, and then you can determine for yourself whether I'm a hate channel or not. But I think what you're talking about is a separation of the fan base, and understanding who is doing what, right? Because you're gonna have one group of people that just don't want to hear nothing negative. Everything has to be positive. And then you're going to have your football fans. I'm a true football fan. I'm a purist, right? That's why after year one, I came on this show and I said, you know what? I'm not doing the pump it up no more. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start having football conversations, and I'm going to look at this team from a football perspective now, and that's how we're going to deal with it, even though I'm still a fan, and I'm still a fan of Coach Prime. I've said that, right? So we have to – so based on what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, but you cannot indict the entire fan base with that. You can't say, well, because you got some people, you got a Willie from the tennis channel. You got a Harry B, who's kind of like right there in the middle and just try to make sure that we are having good football conversations. And then you have people who are just kind of like just straight up Paul Finebaums. And
Basically what you're saying, are you saying you're a reverse butter?
reverse, what the heck is
you're reverse butter, basically. But I get what you're saying, though, and I agree with that. A lot of times it's just a contrast, and I don't think personally you don't get a lot of value if you are I, I don't think you get. I think that you can get something, but I think the best. But after a while, the value of the discussion goes down, because then if you're all favorable, you're just going to continue to repeat the same talking points
and
versus saying, "Hey." Right. Go ahead.
And I'm gonna have common sense, chime in a little bit because we're almost out of time. But I want people to understand when you are a creator, you're here to a certain standard, right? Because you're trying to stick around for a while. So when you mislead people, right? And if you come on here and you say, "Oh, we're gonna go 12-0, and our floor is 10-2," or if we lose 10-2, if we don't win 10 games, right? And then it's a bust. The season is a bust. So there's people out there that don't really understand football, but they're cheering for Colorado. They want the best for Coach Prime, right? So what happens if it doesn't go that way? Right? Now, some people are going to feel a certain way. So give your best evaluation, and then let the chips fall where they're going to fall at. But if you're going to tell somebody, "Oh no, if you lose 10 games, if you don't win 10 games, then it's a bust," I don't see that as a bust because people are looking for you. So some of us are trying to stick around and want to be taken seriously by college football people who talk college football, and we want to get invited to certain shows as well. So if we're just kind of like, just kind of delusional fan base, and I'm supposed to be delusional with you and not have any kind of conversation outside of everything's going to be great, we're going to win all the games, our floor is 10-2. If I do that without any evaluation or with all the data that I know, I'm doing a disservice to a lot of the fan base that really want solid information, because I don't think the super fans outweigh the people who just want good information. What do you think about that common sense?
Yeah, I think, but again, this is social media. And in certain ways, people want to confirm their bias, which is what they talk about in politics, which is what they talk about in corners of social media. You could insulate yourself from anything you don't like simply by staying on certain channels, right? Simply by not hearing different perspectives. I think one of the things that I like about coming on here, otherwise I wouldn't be, it's 9 o'clock on the East Coast, spending my time on this channel, is because Harry B is doing his best to have conversations that are balanced so we don't end up in an echo chamber. So this is kind of where I sit as a fan in terms of expectations for next year. A 6-6 season is an improvement, but a disappointment. For me, 7-5 is the floor, right? You go bowling, you could raise your head. It's still not the season you wanted to have, but it still represents a lot of improvement over last year with the pieces that you added. 8-4 is a great season for me.
Mm-hmm.
9 wins or better. Now you got to put Coach Prime in the Coach of the Year conversation, because to go from 1-11, right,
4-8
to 4-8,
mm-hmm.
and 9 wins or better, right, in one season.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Really? One season? Because he came, when did he come? He didn't even have a full year for 2023.
December.
Right. So if I make a statement like that and then somebody says, "Oh, you're not a true fan," it's because they're seeking an echo chamber. And I don't think Harry B wants TLP Sports to become an echo chamber where you go and only hear what you want to hear. Now, what I will try to do is defend that statement. So it's not just me jumping out the window and saying stuff and having no real way of defending what my statement is or why I'm saying what I'm saying, in a way that not only the panelists can engage with, but also people in the chat can tell me if I'm wrong. So that's the perspective I take in terms of what I look for from TLP Sports or any other channels that I engage with.
Let's bring JR Boxing on so we can get some his.
Well, now let me ask you this then.
Hold on, DC. One second. JR
Boxing. Why you bringing JR? Go ahead.
He's been waiting in the green room. I want to
What
get
up,
his thoughts,
JR?
and then we'll go to you. JR Boxing, welcome to the channel.
Oh,
welcome
I'm sorry.
To the show.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for calling in. I appreciate you, brother.
Oh, no problem here, B. Man, DC, that's how the Army treat the Air Force people, huh?
I know, man. There's a hate for Air Force and Army, right?
Oh man. But yeah, go ahead, DC. I'll put myself on mute. Go ahead, DC. Get it off.
And by the way, I was enlisted Air Force. I enjoyed it. I just decided to eat dirt. and went over to the Army. Well, Air Force is all good. Yeah, it's a different ball game, bro. That's all. But you already know.
Yes, sir.
Already know. Just want to say this though, but common sense buff. But now you said it's 6 and 6 being disappointing, so you went up the scale. Now this comment, I'm gonna say, make me a hater, even though I'm not saying it. I'm asking a question. But what does 5 and 7 say? What would 4 and 8 say? Would that say that Coach Prime is not a good coach? It wouldn't say that to me. It would just say maybe to a point of it's time to maybe relook at a business practice. For example, maybe I can't get all the stuff that I'm getting out the portal or when I get it. Or it may say, hey, I might have to start kicking out a little more money. I might have to start being strategic. I might have to take a look at my recruiting stand. It may be to a point I need to reevaluate my process, not necessarily that my coaching staff that bad. It may be to a point where, hey, I had a new DC that was his first year. Maybe there's some things pieces I need to put around him to make him successful. That's what a leader would do. So, but notice if you go to those conversations, a lot of people will not want to have that because they will sit back. Oh, it's not way, but it is possible to go 4 and 8. It's possible to go 5 and 7. It's possible to go 12 and 0. See what I mean?
Yeah, anything's possible. And I'm going to say something that is sacrilegious, all right, in Buff's community. All right. So, they're going to nail me to the cross for this one.
Hold on
The
1 second.
only,
You see what I'm saying? I just asked the question and somebody said that. My man Yahweh say that's bull, DC. I'm full of it. And that wasn't, I said, just asking the question said it was BS. But continue. My bad.
uh, yeah, but you also preface the question with anything is possible. We live in reality. Anything is possible. Now, the only scenario I see less than 6 wins, two things have to happen. And I don't even want to wish this on this young man. I'm not even going to call his name in association with it, but let's say he's an integral piece to everybody's forecast about the great season that Colorado is going to have. If that one piece is not available for a good portion of the season, then 5 and 7 is a possibility, and even 4 and 8 as a repeat is a possibility. But here's the second thing that has to happen. There has to be an inability by Pat Shurmur to scheme around that missing piece. Now, one of the things that gives me confidence is what he was able to do when said player couldn't finish the season, right? He came in, took over, and was able to scheme around a player that a lot of people sleep on, but came in and played fairly well, even in those losses. So I'm not even going to say it out loud because then, I'm not trying to get clipped and slaughtered. But that's the only scenario where I see a 5 and 7 season or a 4 and 8 season as a repeat. If he keeps all his starters, that's where I'm starting off with the floor being not a disappointing season being 6 and 6. No worse than that.
All right, JR Boxing, what are your thoughts on what DC just said? And you can piggyback on common sense buffs as well.
Well, I'll start with common sense buff, man. And that was a great point, and I see you on a panel tonight to get yourself canceled because I already know what you was alluding to, but you didn't say the young man's name. But boy, I bet some angry ears out there. But no, that's absolutely spot on as far as that integral piece of the program needing to be upright in order for the Buffaloes to have a very successful season. To what DC was saying, I mean, DC, you're right as well. I mean, the ladder for people is so far in between from let's just start at where they finish 4 and 8 to a 9 and 3 potential record. Anywhere in between that, it's a dogfight. People speak in absolutes. People speak from passion, and they want to feel right about what they're following or who they're following. And that's in society. Everybody wants to feel right or feel validated in their words because they're speaking them. They're coming from their own mouths. And so rarely do people say, you know what, hey, you're right about that, I'm wrong about that. And then that's the end of the conversation. It's usually, well, this is my point of view. You give your point of view, and then there's a rebut to another rebuttal. So I just think we get caught up in speaking in absolutes, like kind of Paul Finebaum. When he was on TV, he spoke in such an absolute manner, it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as our own passion for who we follow, yeah, we want our own people to be successful. We want the people that we root for to be successful, and that's just the way society is driven these days. So when it comes to the fans and the BWBs or whatever phrase that they're putting upon followers of Coach Prime or the Colorado Buffaloes University, people just want to be passionate about something. So that ladder, when you say 4-8, and people's like, well, why do you see it that way? Because I see it this way. Well, I see it this way because of my knowledge of this or my experience of this or the traditional football way. Well, this is a non-traditional football coach and blah. So you can talk in circles for days, but the passion and the absolute that people want to speak to, I think that's what creates that back and forth that people just I think they search for it now when you go to certain panels. So
Yeah, I mean, you make some really great points, because I mean that's why you have your Fox News, you have your CNNs, and you have your MSNBCs. So depending on if something happens politically, where do you go? You go to where somebody's going to sound say stuff that's going to kind of like relate to how you're already thinking. You feel
yep.
me? You're not going to run to the other channel and be like, because what they what they're going to be saying. So you make some really great points about that, and so yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, man, I want people to understand that, like, hey, when you go to a place and you go to a channel, y'all should be able to talk football. I want to have an environment where people can be free to say, hey, what happens if this happens? You know what I'm saying? If somebody was to ask a question, hey, what happens if this happens? Right? If you were to say Shador would have gotten hurt and he wouldn't have finished the season, people will be all over you, right? But it was a reality that actually happened. You feel me? So for you to even consider that, like, you got to keep in mind that we don't have a lot of DEPTH. So a lot of our starters, if they're not in the game, I don't believe the production is going to stay, the quality of the production is going to stay the same. And for us to be afraid to have those conversations for certain people's ears is a disservice to the whole college football conversation. And I think that's where you get people like Paul Finebaums. That's where they come off at, because it's those type of fans when they don't want to hear anything that has to do with what if situations, because that's what analysis is about. What if this happened, and what if that doesn't happen, and what if this happens? That's what true analysis is about. And if you are afraid, and you are a fan that is afraid to have a conversation about what ifs, then you will get people like Paul Finebaums who are just so sick and tired of. He probably doesn't care about Coach Prime, right? He probably doesn't want to say. He's probably responding just like DC always does. I realize that a lot of the comments that these legacy guys are having is not about the players or the coach. It's about us, the fans. It's about us and how we respond to everything. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you don't want to have a conversation about what ifs, then the football legacy people who like to talk football and consider everything, and they just understand that we're considering everything, it frustrates the crap out of them. And they're like, well, then why are you even here? Can y'all just hurry up and just go away so that we can get back to this real football thing? And now it puts Paul Finebaum in perspective. He's tired of us. Paul Finebaum is straight up tired of us.
But Harry, part of that is because, so far, I'll give you an example in the conversation. If I sit back and say, let's say that Colorado has a great punting game, but they're kicking their teams in the Big 12 that have better kickers. The initial thing to say, and let's say at the end of the season, that a lot of teams beat Colorado because of the kicking game. Then what would generally happen is say, well, hey, we were trying to talk about the kicking game, and what will sometimes for some, which again, I do see where your point is, you don't demonize the whole entire fan base just for a few. But the thing is, instead of us going and talking about the kicker stuff, yeah, we need to get a kicker. It would be to a point of, but we still made all this money and we still did all this and we had this. And so and so was on this commercial on the game and stuff like that. And it's like, well, let's say if you end up 4-8, and part of that was because you didn't have the better kicker within the league, within the Big 12. We couldn't get to the football conversation because we're still spending a lot of time talking about the success off the field, which is phenomenal. But then, and I'm not saying I want this to happen. I want Colorado to do well. But I think that that's the thing that's the frustrating with us legacy folks is that we try to sometimes get to the football conversations, but then it'll just like legacy people will move the goalpost to talk to on Colorado when they do well and say, well, you didn't do this. I see also that's the thing where the goalpost will be moved where, well, at least we had a whole bunch of ticket sales and we had the most expensive ticket. And it's like, well, but 4-8, if we, so that's where I think we have to find this year, maybe that middle ground where we just kind of have a conversation of both things.
So yeah, I mean, we don't want to keep beating a dead horse because
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so to DC, I acknowledge your point. You've given some examples to help us get our head around it, right, in terms of fans. But maybe I could put a question to you, which is when we pose the question to other fan bases, I feel like everything that's good about our team gets discounted because of who we are. So I just went for a minute and a half answering your
I
question
agree.
about the fact that we need to be grounded in reality. But sometimes when we're talking to other fan bases, they sound like they're not grounded in reality and trying to make us seem crazy. For example, if I was to tell you that in a conference that runs the ball like the Big 12 does, and they have a lot of very, very good running backs, our running back room is not a room to be slept on. Dallin Hayden, Isaiah Agustave, Micah Welsh, Charlie Offerdahl, Brandon Hood, no specific order.
Mm-hmm.
If I was to present that as a formidable running back room, other fans would be like, nah, they ain't gonna be able to run the ball. They're gonna be two. Why? Why is that the visceral reaction versus let's talk about who's actually in the room and why, if
Mm-hmm.
those players are on another team, they would get more credit as a room than we get at Colorado. And that's for the whole panel.
JR.
And let's
Oh,
add Dylan Edwards, who is at K State now. And boy, if you see how people are looking at him and they're evaluating how he's going to do at K State, boy, it sounds way different. But anyways, go ahead, JR.
yeah. To answer your question, I would say, in my opinion, I believe that it's the way our minds are conditioned when we look at football, right? So when we look at football and we think specifically college football, we think, okay, program building. The coach is going to come in to a losing program. He's going to bring in a lot of recruits, and there's this stepping stone of how they need to win. Uh, and the program should have success, let's say the fourth or fifth year, in our minds, because that's what we're conditioned to seeing from more prominent coaches, excuse me. Nick Saban, he got to Alabama, and I want to say his first year was, I believe, like 7-6 or something like that, or somewhere around that ballpark. But then he built a powerhouse program. Same thing, Dabo Swinney. He came to Clemson. I can't remember what his first year was, but he built a powerhouse program. So our minds as football fans or fanatics are conditioned to see a traditional football style. This is how you're going to build a program. And then when you hear Coach Prime come in being, unapologetically himself, and we're going to win now, and we're going to do it this way, and I'm going to bring in these, transfer portal guys because I have to win now. I've always won. And
Mm-hmm.
people are like, wait a minute, that's not how it's supposed to work. But if it works for him, only people that need to believe it is the coach, the coaching staff, and the players in their locker room. Nobody else has to believe anything that he's saying. But if those people within the confines of that program believe it, then he can push, the agenda, push the narrative, and force his will on the conference or, however far he wants to take the program. But from a traditional mindset, we've been almost brainwashed to believe like you have to do a program, you have to establish a program this way. But football has changed. I mean, NIL, money has changed.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring up something real quickly to speak about Coach Prime and the Cormani McClain situation. Coach Prime has always come out and said, these guys want to be treated like pros. They want to be paid like pros. But when it comes to the media, when it comes to our coaching philosophy, now it's an issue. But if we are paying you or we are treating you as though you are a pro because you want to be treated that way, then that's what comes with it. Your coach is not going to always protect you in the media in the NFL. They're going to say what's on their mind, and then you're going to be at your locker room and you get to say what's on your mind, and then you move on from it because it's a business, right? So college football has always been a business, but now it's just more of a business because the players are now taking a piece of the pie. So
Mm-hmm.
when Coach Prime comes out and said he said it in nearly every interview outside of the the Neelys and the things like that, but every public platform he's been on, the Joel Klatz, the Stephen A. Smith, uh, the Fox Sports with the old white guy. I can't remember his name now, but he's always projected that these guys want to be pros. They want to be, they want to be paid like pros. We're going to treat them like pros. In the pros, that's how you would be treated. Hey, you're no longer a fit for our organization. We're moving on. Text message, phone call, and they're done with you, right? And so the same thing for Cormani. Hey, it's no longer fitting. You're no longer fitting within the culture of this program. We have to move on from you, and good luck in your next endeavors. It's sad to say because you don't want to give up on a young man with so much talent, so early on. But in a traditional football, sense, if there was no NIL, you could hold on to that young man and teach him and nurture him a little bit more. But everything's sped up now when you add the element of money. Money's involved. So the time of how we're gonna, build you up, it's sped up.
That's true. So keep in mind that, a lot of people are also not used to Coach Prime and how he does things. So that's also a lot of the distraction comes from that as well, that they're not used to somebody just being straight up, just talking straight, because people are trained in the media to not talking absolutes because, sound bites and stuff like that, are kept and people will come back and use it against you. But Coach Prime, I think the biggest thing is that the expectations that were set, people didn't understand and they didn't know how to deal with the way that he spoke in such absolutes and how confident he was. They're not used to coaches just saying what they're thinking. So that's where a lot of that came from. DC or Common Sense, y'all got anything to add to that? Because I want to let people know the next show we're going to go back to our breaking down of the teams. We're going to be doing Iowa State. That's why I have them in highlight right now. So anybody wants to look into Iowa State and look at their schedule, look at the teams that they're playing. We're going to come back to our, let's view videos and discussions. But I just feel like the conversation to answer the Paul Finebaums and to talk about the people that don't believe that Colorado has a chance, we have to do these type of shows. We got to go into the Iowa States, the West Virginias, and we got to look at them, because if we meet them, do we stand a chance to beat them? And if you don't want to have that conversation, then this is probably not the type of shows for you. If you don't want to look at the possibility of their quarterbacks or who they got and who, Abu Sima, if you don't want to take a look at these guys and see that these guys are putting up crazy numbers, I go into that and I talk about it because I know that it's a reality, because if we meet them, there's a possibility that we're going to have to, pay attention to, there's a possibility that they may beat us. And if there's a possibility, I want to know ahead of time. And maybe that'll help somebody prepare. Maybe it'll help Tyler Brown. Maybe it'll help somebody to say, I'm glad I watched Harry B and he made this possible. So I practice a little harder, because these kids do watch, believe it or not. Anybody got some final thoughts? Let's get the final thoughts so we can get up out of here. I'm going to start with you, Common Sense Buff, the new Buff channel, CSB. What is your final thoughts on today's show, brother?
Yeah, man, I like it, man. I haven't heard DC stumped in a minute, man. He ain't answered my question. I feel like we're always the ones getting checked on our reality. But when we ask other people why, when we present our arguments, it's like they can't see it, right? There are many teams in the country who would probably be ranked much higher than we are, number 11 in the conference. And I know I looked at some other rankings, and there are other teams who could make the argument that they should be ranked higher based on the history of their programs. For example, in the ACC, North Carolina is number 11. In the SEC, the Florida Gators are number 11. And in the Big Ten, a playoff team from last year, the Washington Huskies, of course, they're not the same, they're number 11. So every fan base has a reason to be up in an uproar if their team is not ranked where they want to be. But my problem is when we try to say, if you had a Dallin Hayden or an Isaiah Agustave or a LeJontay Wester or a Will Shepherd, would that translate into a much better team? And I feel like people on the other side want us to check our reality, but they're not willing to check theirs. So that's my final word.
All right, so let me come to you, rightfully, DC. Your final thoughts, please, if you want to address what
Right.
this new channel that's about to get canceled real soon if you don't be careful.
Well, the reason I will say this is that you name individuals, and they're great individuals within their own right, but what you have not seen them play as a team. Whereas in the Big 12, we can look at Iowa State. You can see the running back Sama. You can see what West Virginia did. You can look and see some of the things with Kansas State, Kansas, Utah. You can see those things. So the thing is, I get what you're saying, and you're right. I do think there needs to be a level of grace, but I also think there needs to be that middle ground to understand is that while things can be, while just because something is new, and we should respect that as new, but we also can't get caught up automatically that, okay, well, this is new and it's going to work. It hasn't been proven yet. And some people have shown me. So I think there needs to be that grace on that. I think that Colorado did get good running backs, but you also got to sit back. It's some teams that got 1,400 doggone yard backs in this league, UCF, which brings me to this as I close out. This is the phenomenal about Harry, because I will say, common sense, but one of the things is I notice some fans, not all, but there's a sector of it that will say Colorado is going to dominate, but have not looked at the teams. Like they'll only look at the quarterback position, but not have really like dug into, well, how do these teams schemes? How do they play? I think Colorado will be fine. That's the other thing I would say is the beauty by what Harry is doing is to dig into these teams versus saying, because think about it, when you hear a lot of times, well, we only lost by one score last year. Well, you're not playing hardly any of those teams this year. You're playing almost a whole new set of teams that bring a new challenge, and you don't know what you'll do head to head. I don't think we should automatically assume that Colorado is going to lose, and like Paul Finebaum said, that you're an easy win. But I do think we need to take it serious enough, because here's the thing, as I close with it, is that when you don't study the teams, you ain't respecting them. And when you're not respecting them by saying we're automatically going to beat teams we haven't even looked at, then that's going to bring a whole new set of challenges to you. If you do dominate, great. But if you don't, you at least need to know why. Hey, this team was good and we need to work on this. I think Colorado will be fine. I think they're going to be better than 11. I just think that as we navigate this space, we have to remember we are looking at a team that has some phenomenal pieces, that being Colorado. We just haven't seen them put it all together on the field. And hopefully we will see that.
All right, JR, you got the last word on the show tonight. You close it out. You close us out.
All right, thank you for that, Harry B. I'll just like to start off. Hey, thank you for opening up the platform and allowing us to have a magnificent discussion tonight. Salute to you, Common Sense, and DC. Also, Harry B. Salute to you as well. What I will say as a lifelong Big 12 watcher, consumer of all Big 12, football, basketball, baseball, anything Big 12 country, I've been a part of it my whole life. Um, the conference has definitely, had its ups and downs. We've had the years of great quarterbacks, but as of recently, minus Quinn Ewers, we haven't had a good quarterback. I think the last, quarterback we had was maybe Kyler Murray when you look at that Big 12 all totality type of thing. And then Quinn Ewers had an amazing year last year. And the rest of the Big 12, they were down on quarterbacks. So when you look at those numbers of running backs, not saying that their numbers are inflated, but a lot of those teams in the Big 12, they ran out of necessity because they had to survive in the conference because they didn't have great quarterback play. Uh, I think what puts CU ahead is our quarterback, right? So coming into a new conference, I would say Shador is hands down the best quarterback in that conference, the best quarterback to lead a team. And if you look, through the NFL draft, and if you look through success of teams, three of the top quarterbacks drafted last year came from the Pac-12. Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix at number 10. So quarterback play means something. It means something in the professional ranks. It means something in college football. It means something. I'm not glossing over the fact that the Big 12 has put up, some 1,214-yard rushers, but that was out of necessity. I don't believe there's anybody on the panel that can name me a more successful quarterback than Shador Sanders in the Big 12. So the ladder for the Colorado Buffaloes is as far as, staying healthy and where their defense will take them. I don't think there'll be a tremendous drop-off when it comes to offensive production, but the defense did have a terrible problem of stopping the run. And so that has to be a priority when you are in a conference that solely relies on their running backs because the quarterback play is so bad. So thank you again, Harry B, for opening up the panel, and I look forward to future discussions for sure.
Well, thanks guys for all the points that you've made. And you're right, JR Boxing. I mean, you're very articulate and you are knowledgeable, and that's why I like to have you guys on the panel because, again, I keep telling people I don't know that much about college football. I'm learning, and I try to do educational shows because I know that there's a lot of people that is in the same boat that I'm in. So when you articulate and you say, hey, if you look at Shador being one of the best quarterbacks, it should count for something. If you're saying, well, Travis Hunter is if not the best overall college football player, but he's on the same team as Shador, that should count for something. You see what I'm saying? Like, we can go down the line and play up after player. But again, as we talked about in the body of the show, when it comes to CU, we discount all of these things and we just put them all in the box and say, well, you know what? You sucked last year, you're going to suck again this year. So it's unfortunate that we have to keep dealing with this. But again, like I said, the day, hopefully it's after this season, the day we start talking about real football in Colorado football, that's the day that you're going to see some BWB shine and let you know that we do know about football. This ain't just about or feelings, or we just some guys that are in our feelings and we just love primates and crap like that. So when we start talking about some football, y'all will see. Y'all got lucky the first year. I'm telling you, people got lucky the first year and they humbled us. We accept it. This year is going to be a little different, y'all will see. DC, I appreciate you. JR Boxing, I appreciate you. The new Buff channel, guys, I want y'all to please go support Common Sense Buff. Please go support that channel. Feel So Real, thank you for coming on. Willie, the tennis channel. I know you didn't come on. I know you're hiding from me, but you're going to come back on this show, and you better stop playing with me, all right? I hope there's no hate over there. There's no love lost. But I've noticed that you're not coming around now. I hope I didn't do or say anything. Everybody in the chat, Prime 1 Effect, Prime Effect 101, Mike, Tim Smith, Common Sense Buffs, Surfer Boy 3000, Wild Dog. Can't wait for you to come get well and come back, brother. Son of Yahweh, Milwaukee, our new member. Everybody, thank you so much for making it a great show. I will see you guys on Friday. That's Free for All Friday. Peace out. Have a great night. I'm out.